The guards who were sitting could not help but stand up. They did not have Manager Liu's good father. If this ninth miss really said something, they would be in trouble. Although this ninth miss did not have much status, since they had spent so much effort to find her back, the higher-ups must have an ulterior motive, so it was better to stop when the time was right. Manager Liu was lucky. He gritted his teeth and stood up. He thought to himself that there was still time in the future. When he returned to the Yun mansion, he would have 100 ways to torture her. Now he would first bring her back to the Yun mansion. Standing like a wooden stake. Don't tell me you don't even know the most basic etiquette? Yun Chujio said with disdain. Manager Liu looked at Yun Chujio with a gloomy face. Miss Jiu, one must leave some leeway in doing things. Otherwise, when we meet in the future, it won't look so good. Let's talk about the future later. Besides, how can a dog slave like you have any leeway to talk to me? Why aren't you coming down to greet me? Yun Chujio said with a sneer. Manager Liu almost vomited blood from anger. He thought that this ninth miss who grew up in a low-grade continent would definitely let him flatten her. He didn't expect her to be so arrogant. However, this was also good. One look and one could tell that she was an arrogant, despotic and brainless fool. When she entered the Yun mansion, those masters would definitely treat her well. Manager Liu walked to Yun Chujio's side with a gloomy face and bowed to Yun Chujio together with the guards. Your subordinate greets ninth young miss? Yun Chujio did not pay attention to them. Instead, she let old Master Yi sit on the main seat, let Yi Yuanliang sit on the lower right, and she sat on the lower left. Old Master Yi and Yi Yuanliang's foreheads were covered in sweat. They were trembling in fear. What was little Jiu doing? If she did this now, how could she have a good ending in the Yun family? Although the two of them were drumming in their hearts, they didn't dare to persuade her. They could only sit on their seats without saying a word. Yun Chujio asked the servants to bring over tea and pastries again and started to eat. Manager Liu and the others were left in the middle of the living room. They were so depressed that they wanted to bang their heads against the wall. Manager Liu couldn't take it anymore. Miss Jiu, it's getting late. We should set off. If we can't make it back in time, the princess will be angry. Yun Chujio's heart skipped a beat. He didn't say that the prince would be angry, but that the princess would be angry. It seemed that this Manager Li and his father should be the princess people. What's the hurry? You've waited for so many years and you still need such a short time? If I'm not full, how can I have the strength to hurry on my way? Could it be that you're carrying me? Manager Liu gritted his teeth and stood like a wooden stake in the middle of the living room, watching He Xinjiu eat and drink. Finally, He Xinjiu finished eating a plate of pastries, then stood up and bowed respectfully to old Master Yi and Yi Yuanliang. Great-grandfather, little Jiu is leaving now. You two take care. Yi Yuanliang's eyes reddened. Although he had some use and schemes in his heart, he still felt some pity for her. He sighed and said, Little Jiu, be careful. Yi Yuanliang also said, Little Jiu, the Yun family is not like our Yi family. Don't be willful and act recklessly. Take good care of your mother. Yun Chujio nodded and looked at Manager Liu and the others with disdain. Let's go. Do you want me to invite you? You don't have any discerning eyes and don't know how you became a manager. The people of the Yun family probably don't have good eyesight. Manager Liu wished he could slap Yun Chujio to death, but he didn't dare to. He cursed angrily in his heart, Bitch, there's a time for you to cry. Let's wait and see. After leaving Leaf City, Manager Liu summoned his flying spirit tool. After everyone boarded the flying spirit tool, they headed south. Yun Chujio pondered in her heart. There was probably another passage from the immortal essence continent to the towering sky continent besides the boundless ice abyss. However, this flying spirit tool was much faster than the immortal essence continents. When she arrived at the towering sky continent, she also got a few to play with. Yun Chujio walked around the exquisitely decorated flying spirit tool and then drew something into her storage ring. Oh my, this lampstand looks good. I'll keep it. This cushion is really beautiful. I'll keep it. This table looks quite unique. I'll keep it. Manager Liu obviously didn't react at first. He stared at it with his mouth agape for a while and then shouted, What are you doing? This is the princess flying spirit tool. All the things in it were chosen by the princess. In order to let everyone praise her kindness and generosity, Princess Yun lent her flying spiritual device to Manager Liu. If she knew that Yun Chujio had a criminal record, she wouldn't have done this. Yun Chujio continued to put the things in her storage ring and said, The princess is either my aunt or uncle. Why should I make a fuss about taking her things? Get out of my way. Manager Liu was about to stop her when he heard Yun Chujio say casually, If you do anything, I will smash all these things. Then I will say that you did it. If you don't believe me, you can try and see who will be punished. You? Manager Lu had never seen such a shameless person. He did not know what to say for a moment. Yun Chujiu didn't care about him. Soon, the flying spiritual tool became empty, leaving only a lonely bed. Of course, this was because He Xinjiu wanted to lie on it. Otherwise, she would have put it away long ago. Manager Lu was so angry that he gnashed his teeth, but he didn't dare to really attack Yun Chujiu. After all, Consort Yun had specifically instructed him to bring Yun Chujiu back with him without leaving any loose ends. Seeing her act like this, Manager Lu could only endure it and make a rough guess. He couldn't help but sneer in his heart. As long as you have something in mind, I can make you submit obediently. Let's play slowly, there's no rush. The flying spirit tool was very fast. 3 days later, the group arrived at a valley in the south of the immortal Yuan continent. The climate in the valley was humid and hot, and there were dense spirit plants everywhere. Perhaps because Manager Lu and his group's spiritual power was too high, no demon beasts came out to die. After walking for nearly half a day, Yun Chujiu saw a stone platform in the distance. Some patterns were carved on the stone platform, and it looked very ancient. Could it be a teleportation array? Who would have thought that there was a teleportation array hidden in the depths of this dense forest that led to the towering sky continent? Manager Lu took out a jade token from his storage ring and threw it into the air. He then began to form a seal. The jade token suddenly shot out a beam of light and shone in the middle of the stone platform. The entire stone platform shone in all directions. It was obvious that the teleportation formation had been activated. Manager Lu gritted his teeth and said, "Miss Jiu, please?" Yun Chujiu slowly walked into the teleportation formation. Manager Lu and the others also entered the teleportation formation. Manager Lu made another hand seal and the jade token returned to his hand. A dazzling light flashed in front of Yun Chujiu's eyes. After an unknown period of time, she finally stepped on the ground again. When Yun Chujiu regained her sight, she realized that they were standing on a stone platform. It was exactly the same as what she had seen before. It must be a teleportation array in Atlas mainland. Yun Chujiu slowly walked down the stone platform. When she saw Manager Liu's smug expression, she sneered in her heart. Did he think that she was already in Atlas mainland so she could only be at his mercy? He was really naive and stupid. Just as Yun Chujiu was thinking about it, she heard Manager Lu say in disdain, "Miss Jiu, now that we have arrived at the towering sky continent, I advise you to be more sensible. Otherwise there will be no benefits for you." Yun Chujiu looked at the surrounding environment and said indifferently, "Manager Lu, your brain is probably not very good. No matter where you are, it can't change the fact that I am the master and you are the servant. I also want to give you a piece of advice. If you provoke me even a little, I will repay you 100 times more when I return to the Yin Mansion. If you don't believe me, you can try." Manager Liu's expression changed a few times. Although he did not think that Yun Chujiu would be able to stir up any trouble, when he thought of the princess methods, he still felt that it was better to complete the mission first. When he returned to the Yin Mansion, he would have a way to deal with this bitch. Thus, Manager Lu pointed in a direction and said, "Miss Jiu, let's go this way. Demonic beasts are rampant here. The lowest level is a level 46 demonic beast, so you'd better be careful." Yun Chujiu walked forward without commenting. She pondered for a few days and felt that this time when she returned to the Cloud Mansion, her principles were only 2 words: arrogant. The Yun Mansion could not wait to bring her back. Either they had some ulterior motive or they were trying to shut others up. No matter what the reason was, they were reluctant to kill her. At least for the time being, her life would not be in danger. Since that was the case, she would not be bullied. She would do whatever she wanted to be arrogant. She wanted to see what they were up to. After walking for a short distance, a huge tiger blocked their way. Yun Chujiu did not know the name of this tiger, but it was clear that its spiritual power level was very high. Yun Chujiu said lightly, "I have no choice. I am a waste, so I will leave this kitten to you." Manager Lu and the others, damn it, why did they feel that this guy was even more proud when he said that he was a waste than when he said he was a genius? Could it be that the immortal essence continent was proud of being a waste? Lai Yin was even more confused. "Damn it, you are the little cat, I am the iron-tailed flaming gorgeous tiger." Yun Chujiu hugged her shoulders and watched the few guards fighting with the tiger. The tiger was outnumbered and quickly fled in a panic. Yun Chujiu's heart trembled. When these people were in the immortal essence continent, their spiritual power level seemed to be restricted. Now that they had recovered, their spiritual power level was not just a little bit higher than hers. She was really weak now. TSK, but thinking about it, she was very excited. She liked the process of becoming strong from weak. She liked the way these people looked at her with displeasure but could not kill her. She liked stepping on these people who looked down on her step by step. Along the way they encountered a few waves of demonic beasts. Although Manager Lu and the others were slightly injured to varying degrees, it was not a big deal. After they left the dense forest, they flew for another 3 days on flying spirit tools and saw a towering city in the distance. Yun Chuzhou could not help but sigh. They were indeed afraid of comparing goods. She had previously thought that the cities in the Immortal Essence continent were very grand and magnificent, but compared to the city in front of her, there was simply no comparison. After the flying spiritual device landed, Hei Xinjiu slowly walked down. She raised her head and looked at the 2 big words on the city, Encheng. This guy curled his lips. What a vulgar name. It was simply not worthy of such a high-class city. When Yun Chuzhou was looking around, she heard a commotion behind her. Get out of the way. Get out of the way. The crown prince is back in the city. Yun Chuzhou subconsciously turned around and saw a few young men and women riding a spirit beast that looked like a horse. There were also some walking soldiers behind them. The man in the lead was riding a snow-white spirit beast. He had sharp eyebrows and bright eyes. He was quite good-looking, but to Hei Xinjiu, who was used to seeing all kinds of beautiful men, he was nothing special. The man was dressed very luxuriously, and they had previously called him the Crown Prince? Could this be the so-called Crown Prince? Yun Chuzhou felt that it was getting more and more interesting. This towering sky continent seemed to be different from the Immortal Origin continent. It seemed that it should be ruled by the royal family. Manager Lu glanced at Yun Chuzhou, and he despised her in his heart. What a country bumpkin. Seeing the crown prince, he was like a flower, like a fool. He didn't even know how to bow and avoid him. Manager Liu's eyes flashed, but he did not remind Yun Chuzhou. He thought that it would be good for this bitch to offend the crown prince so that he could vent his anger. Yun Chuzhou naturally would not stand in the middle of the road and wait to be hit. She came back to her senses and lightly jumped to the side to make way for him. When Yun Chuzhou saw Manager Lu and the guards kneeling on the ground, she frowned. Could it be that she had to kneel and bow too? She didn't want to kneel down to this bullshit crown prince. Thus this guy squatted next to Manager Lu. Manager Lu? Are all the people in the Immortal Yuan continent bowing like this? Squatting? Fortunately, the crown prince was obviously not interested in them. He didn't even look at them and walked past them. Just as Yun Chuzhou was about to get up, she heard a gentle voice. Lu Hua? Why are you here? Greetings, Princess Shiyu. I was ordered by the princess to go to the Immortal Yuan continent to fetch the 9th miss back, Manager Lu said respectfully. His attitude towards Yun Chuzhou was like the difference between heaven and earth. Could it be that this lady is my poor 9th sister? 9th sister, please stand up quickly. How can you give such a big gift? The woman said with a distressed tone. Yun Chuzhou raised her head and looked at the woman who spoke. She had a beautiful appearance and an elegant temperament. She said that she would get up quickly, but she didn't even get down from the spirit beast. Obviously, it was just a formality to win people's hearts. What a big white lotus flower. TSK, interesting. Yun Chuzhou sat on the ground and muttered, I'm really sorry, my legs are numb. Who are you? Manager Lu said arrogantly, How dare you? This is Princess Shiyu. Princess 11, you reprimanded softly. Lu Hua, don't be rude. 9th sister, I'm your 3rd sister. I still have to accompany the crown prince to the palace to meet the empress. After we return to the residence, we can have a good chat. Before Yun Chuzhou could speak, the crown prince looked at Yun Chuzhou with disdain, as if he was looking at something. Then he said, Shiyu, she's just an irrelevant person, why bother talking to her? Let's go. Princess Shiyu looked at Yun Chuzhou apologetically, then urged the spirit beast to follow. The young men and women behind Shiyu looked at Yun Chuzhou a few times, then revealed contemptuous expressions and followed. Manager Lu felt that Yun Chuzhou would definitely be dealt a great blow. He looked at Yun Chuzhou proudly, but he didn't expect Yun Chuzhou to stand up and pat the dust off her body. He said with a faint smile, Let's go. Do you still want to kneel here and be a mushroom? Manager Lu. The soldiers guarding the city only let everyone into An City after checking Manager Liu's identity. It was bustling with people in An City. Yun Chuzhou looked around curiously. Manager Lu curled his lips in disdain. What a country bumpkin. Such a country bumpkin could not be compared to Princess Shiyu. They were like heaven and earth. However, Princess Shiyu was going to marry the crown prince in the future. She was a good-for-nothing. TSK. And city was different from some cities in the immortal Yuan continent. People could ride small-sized spirit beasts in the city. Most of the people were riding spirit beasts similar to the ones that Princess Shiyu and the others were riding on. However, it did not seem to be as high grade as the ones that Princess Shiyu and the others were riding on. As in city was very big and the imperial residence of King Yun was very far from the city gate, Manager Lu and the others also summoned those spirit beasts that looked like horses. Manager Lu led an old horse that was about to lose all its fur and said to Yun Chujio, "Miss Jiu, I'm really sorry. This kind of wildebeest has a violent temperament, so you should ride this old horse to avoid falling down." Manager Liu's eyes were full of schadenfreude. It was a great shame for her to ride this old horse around the city. No one else could say anything. After all, she was a trash from the immortal Yuan continent, so she could only ride this kind of docile old horse. Yun Chujio looked at Manager Lu meaningfully and said indifferently, "I have a mount, so you should ride this old horse yourself. Your brain is not working well. If you fall again you will directly become a fool." Manager Lu was so angry that his face was red and his neck was thick. He angrily put away the old horse and thought to himself, "Bitch, if you want to suffer yourself, then you can't blame him. This bitch must not know that the spiritual power of the people in city was much higher than that of the people in the immortal essence continent. Its spirit beast would definitely not be able to withstand the pressure, and when the time came, it would definitely be scared to the ground and see how she would end up." Yun Chujio slowly released the giant rabbit and then turned over to ride on it. She said to Manager Lu, who had a dumbfounded look on his face, "Let's go." Manager Lu, "Rabbit, rabbit?" She actually rode a rabbit? What kind of rabbit was this? How could it be so big? Manager Lu took a closer look. A level 1 rabbit. Manager Lu gloated over Yun Chujio's misfortune. This rabbit was probably going to be scared to death by the pressure and collapse on the ground. However, he could only watch as the giant rabbit jumped up and down. Not only was it scared to death, but it even ran faster than their wildebeest. What the fuck? Everyone in city was attracted by Yun Chujio's strange mount. Who was this little girl? Why was she riding a rabbit? Yun Chujio waved her claws at the crowd and said weakly, "I'm the 9th Miss of the Yun Mansion. I'm poor and can't afford a wildebeest, so I can only ride a rabbit." Manager Lu almost fell off the horse. This damn bitch. If she said that, didn't she put the entire Yunwang mansion in it? Manager Lu quickly explained, "Everyone, our 9th Miss spiritual power is too low, so she can't ride a wildebeest. It's not a matter of money." Yun Chujio sighed. Whatever you say. Sigh. Manager Lu was so angry that he almost fell off his horse. What did she mean by whatever he said? When she said that, wouldn't it make people think that he was lying? Sure enough, everyone was discussing animatedly. Although they didn't dare to say anything out loud, the meaning in their eyes was that they clearly felt that what Yun Chujio said was true. Yun Chujio stopped talking and sat on the giant rabbit looking around. In fact, she was a little nervous and excited. She was going to meet her mother, her own mother. No matter if it was her past life or this life, she had never met her own mother. How could she not be excited? Finally, they arrived at the Cloud King Mansion. The Cloud King Mansion occupied a whole street. It was enough to show the power of the Cloud King Mansion. The Yun Mansion was decorated with lanterns and decorations, and it was a festive scene. There were many maids and servants lining up at the door to welcome them, but none of them were proper masters. Yun Chujio curled her lips. She was a junior, and no one could say anything if Consort Yun did not come out. Moreover, she had already given enough face by arranging such a festive scene, so what could she say? This Consort Yun was most likely the biological mother of Princess Shiyu, and she was definitely an old white lotus. When the maids and servants saw Hei Shinjio riding on the rabbit, they were obviously a little dumbfounded. They even forgot the lines that they had prepared at the beginning. They stared blankly at Hei Shinjio and her rabbit. After a moment, an old woman coughed and everyone said in unison, "Welcome back, Miss Jiu." Yun Chujio glanced at the old woman. This old woman must be a confidant of Princess Yun. The corners of her lips curled up. Is this how you greet her? Just a word from your mouth is enough? Don't tell me that you don't even know how to bow when you see master? Zhang Mama was shocked. Not only did this 9th young miss not have stage fright when she saw such a big gesture, she actually asked them to bow? At this moment there were already many people watching. Zhang Mama could only take the lead to bow to Yun Chujio and said again, "We welcome the 9th young miss back to the manor." Yun Chujio did not say a word. Instead, she looked at the wide-open courtyard door. She knew that outside the Yun mansion, it did not matter how she acted. Once she entered, these people would not have so many scruples, they must have prepared many insidious tricks for her. However, what could she do? Just do it? Yun Chujio straightened her back and slowly entered the Yun mansion. Manager Lu and Zhang Mama looked at each other and followed her into the Cloud Mansion. The servants also entered the Cloud Mansion one after another. The heavy door shut everyone's prying eyes. The onlookers were all gossiping and whispering, "That ninth young miss is going to suffer. Yeah, she's so pitiful. If the former King Yun was still here, she would be a proper princess. Now she can't even be compared to a concubine's daughter. That's for sure." Although it's said that Consort Yun is virtuous and virtuous, this ninth young miss and her mother are her eyesores. It's impossible for her to treat them well. Otherwise, would that ninth young miss be able to ride a rabbit back? That's right. Moreover, I heard that the old royal highness and the old consort really looked down on the Yi family. I reckon that they even looked down on this ninth young miss. The mother and daughter will have a hard time. In a palace tens of thousands of miles away from a city in the towering sky continent, an extremely handsome man held a voice transmission talisman. The originally dense gloominess in his eyes faded a little. "You're finally here." This time there was nowhere to run. Yun Chujio could not help but exclaim in admiration when she entered the Yun mansion. The Yun mansion seemed to have a deep foundation, and each scene and object was quite ingenious. "Miss Jiu, the princess has instructed me to bring you to rest first. I will wait until tomorrow morning to pay my respects to the old prince and the old princess," Zhang Mama said respectfully. Yun Chujio's eyelashes were empty. Naturally, she could see that Zhang Mama was pretending to be respectful, because the trace of disdain in her eyes was dazzling to the eye. Yun Chujio smiled faintly. "Mama, are you sure this is the princess' intention?" "Of course it is the princess' intention." Zhang Mama panicked. What did this country bumpkin mean by asking this? Oh? If it really is the princess' intention, then I am a little puzzled. This is the first time a junior of mine entered the residence and did not go to visit his grandparents. Instead he went to rest on his own. Isn't this setting me up to be unfilial? Can you explain this to me, Mama? Yun Chujio stared coldly at Zhang Mama. Zhang Mama couldn't help but take a few steps back. In her heart, she felt that things weren't going well. The old duke and the old consort didn't like the Yi family. If this country bumpkin didn't pay a visit, she would lose even more of her status. Who would have thought that this country bumpkin would actually see through the consort's intentions? It was really quite bad. She naturally couldn't say that this was the princess consort's intentions now, or else the old royal highness and the old princess consort would definitely be displeased with the princess consort. Zhang Mama could only dryly say, "This ninth young miss, this is this old slave's intentions." This old slave thought that ninth young miss' spiritual power was low and that after a long journey she might be too tired. Therefore, it's also fine to visit the old royal highness and the old princess consort tomorrow. Yun Chujio looked at Zhang Mama coldly. "Oh, so it's your idea. Come here, I have something to tell you." Zhang Mama had no choice but to brace herself and walk up to Yun Chujio. Yun Chujio reached out her hand and slapped Zhang Mama hard. "You smart dog. Do you know that by doing this not only did you accuse me of being unfilial, but you also accused the princess consort of being unjust? What crime should you commit?" Zhang Mama was stunned by He Xinjia's slap. She was the most popular person in front of Consort Yun. Even Consort Yun had never hit her before. How could she be beaten up by this country bumpkin today? Everyone was stunned by the unexpected turn of events and was completely silent. Yun Chujio said coldly, "What? You still feel wronged after I taught you a lesson? Could it be that what you said just now was really said by the princess consort?" What could Zhang Mama say? She had no choice but to swallow her words. With a swollen face she said, "Miss Jiu, you taught me a lesson. It's my fault that I was careless and spouted nonsense." Yun Chujio snorted coldly, "I rarely teach servants a lesson, but you are really too outrageous. My hand is hurting a little, how should you be punished?" Zhang Mama's heart was like a dog that was bawling. So not only did she get beaten up, but she also had to apologize because her hand hurt? Zhang Mama gritted her teeth and said, "It's all my fault, I know it's my fault." Yun Chujio nodded with satisfaction. "In that case, slap yourself. Consider it as an apology for me. Remember to use more force or else it shows that your sincerity is not enough." Zhang Mama looked at Yun Chujio in disbelief. This bitch was really going too far. Just as she was about to speak, she heard Yun Chujio say faintly, "Grandma, you are a smart person. Tell me, if I tell grandfather and grandmother what you said, what will they think of that virtuous princess of yours? Do you think they don't believe me? I'm sorry I recorded it with a recording stone. TSK, so do you smoke or do you smoke? Zhang Mama stared at Yun Chujio in disbelief. She actually used a recording stone to record her voice? This bitch was actually so insidious. Their princess consort had really underestimated this country bumpkin. Manager Lu, who was at the side, couldn't help but feel his heart beat faster. Could it be that this bitch had also recorded all of his words? He thought about it carefully. He did not seem to have said anything extraordinary, so he should not have said anything extraordinary, right? Zhang Mama gritted her teeth and gave herself a slap. Ninth miss, this servant is done. Yun Chujio curled her lips. Your sincerity is clearly not enough. That Manager Lu you smoke. You have to ensure that it is as perfect as the one I just smoked. Do you hear me? Manager Lu, what did this have to do with him? Zhang Mama was the favorite of the princess. If he offended her, he would definitely make things difficult for him in the future. Just as Manager Lu was in a daze, he saw Yun Chujio tossing a recording stone in her hand. She said with a smile, Manager Lu, look at the recording stone in my hand. Isn't it very interesting? Do you want it? Manager Liu's heart thumped. Although he couldn't remember whether he had said anything excessive, he still felt a little guilty. He could only say to Zhang Mama, I'm sorry. After saying that, Manager Lu gave Zhang Mama a hard slap on the face and then said to Yun Chujio, Miss Jiu, I'm done. Can you give the recording stone in your hand to me? Yun Chujio casually threw the recording stone to Manager Lu. Manager Lu could not care less about what was inside and could not wait to destroy the body. Yun Chujio curled the corner of her mouth. It was just a blank recording stone. Was there a need to be so excited? Of course, she would not tell Manager Lu that it was a blank recording stone. Zhang Mama's face was swollen like a pig's head. She never dreamed that she would become like this just because she came out to pick up this ninth miss from a lower continent. The hatred in Zhang Mama's heart surged. After a long while, she said stiffly, Ninth young miss, this servant will take you to see the old prince and the old princess consort now. Yun Chujio smiled faintly. Then he'll have to trouble you, Zhang Mama. Here, don't say that I'm bullying you. This is the recording stone just now. Like Manager Lu, Zhang Mama could not wait to destroy the recording stone. She sneered in her heart. Although this slut was cunning, she was too inexperienced. Without the recording stone to threaten her, she would have plenty of ways to deal with this bitch in the future. Yun Chujio followed Zhang Mama to the entrance of a courtyard. After the servant passed the message, Yun Chujio stepped into the courtyard. The courtyard was very spacious. In the middle was a rockery. Under the rockery was a pool with more than a dozen golden fish swimming leisurely. Hey Shinjio fell in love with these fish almost instantly. TSK, these fish were chubby. They must be very delicious. She would like to get a few to taste them when she had the chance. After taking a few steps forward, Yun Chujio heard the laughter in the room. Obviously there were many people inside. Yun Chujio smiled sarcastically. These people were probably waiting for her. If she had really listened to Zhang Mama's words and went to rest, she would have offended not only the old royal highness and the old princess consort. Yun Chujio's footsteps paused slightly. She did not know if her mother was inside. Thinking of this, she became excited. She tightened her hands under her sleeves and walked into the house. Yun Chujio was shocked as soon as she entered the room. There were at least dozens of people in the room, but the Yun mansion was full of people. There was an old couple sitting in the main seat. They looked like they were in their 40s or 50s. It was probably because of their high spiritual power that they were able to retain their looks. There were many people sitting on the left and right according to their status. Some young people could only stand at the back. However, there was one similarity. Everyone's gaze fell on Yun Chujio and Zhang Mama, who was swollen like a pig's head behind her. Yun Chujio's heart sank. Yilan was not among these people. Where was her mother? The old man in the main seat frowned and did not say anything. The old princess beside him did not look too good and did not say anything. In the midst of the silence, an earth-shattering scream shocked everyone so much that they almost sat on the ground. Grandfather, grandmother, little Gio is back. Sob, you guys are exactly the same as little Gio in her dreams. Grandfather is valiant and wise, while grandmother is dignified and elegant. Could it be that this is the bond of blood? Sob, little Gio is really too happy. The people in the room were all dumbfounded. Although they were cultivators and did not have the red tape of the secular world, high-class families also had a lot of rules. So, this was the first time they had seen such a bold and unruly girl. The old royal highness and the old consort's faces stiffened for a moment. They clearly did not expect that this granddaughter who had just been found would do such a thing. However, the two of them still enjoyed He Xingjia's somewhat explicit praise. After all, no one had been so shameless as to flatter them. The old royal highness saw that Yun Chujio was crying with tears in her eyes. He coughed and looked at the old consort beside him. The old consort said with slight disdain, "All right, it's good that you're back. Don't cry so unhappily." Yun Chujio immediately stopped crying. Although there were still tears on her small face, her smile was very bright. "Grandmother is right. Today is a good day. Little Gio must be happy." Little Gio pays her respects to grandfather and grandmother. Her granddaughter will be filial to grandfather and grandmother in the future. This is a little gift from her granddaughter to grandfather and grandmother. Although it's not worth much, it was personally made by her granddaughter. "Grandfather and grandmother, please don't mind." Yun Chujio took out 2 pieces of clothes from her storage ring and asked a maid to pass them to the old royal highness and the old consort. The old consort pouted. She didn't think that a little girl from a low-grade continent could give her anything good. However, this little girl did know how to cause trouble. She was much better than that Yilan from before. The old consort thought of Yilan and her eyes immediately became a little unhappy. The old princess consort took a look at the fabric of the clothes. It was made of snow jade silk. She pursed her lips. Snow jade silk might be a good fabric in the immortal Yuan continent, but in the towering sky continent, it could only be considered to be of the middle class. With her status, she would not wear it. However, when the old princess consort saw the exquisite embroidery and novel style on the clothes, her eyes immediately lit up. This style still looked quite unique. If it were to be replaced with a good black ice silk, it would definitely look very good. The old consort glanced at the clothes in the old prince's hands again. The style was also very novel. It could be seen that the old prince also liked it very much. At this moment, Yun Chujia's small face revealed 2 blushes. "Grandfather, grandmother, little Gio knows that the materials used for these 2 clothes are not very good, but this is the best material that little Gio can bring out. However, if grandfather and grandmother like it, give little Gio some good materials. Little Gio will help grandfather and grandmother make a few more. I guarantee that the styles will not be the same." The old imperial consort thought for a moment and said, "Gee mama, bring her to the storeroom later to pick out a few good materials." The old imperial consort paused for a moment and added, "Along the way, reward her with a few colors that are suitable for young ladies. After all, she is a lady from the Yun imperial residence. It is really inappropriate for her to dress so poorly." Yun Chujia's small face immediately revealed a pleasantly surprised and grateful expression. "Thank you, grandmother. Grandmother, you are really too good to me. I will definitely be filial to you in the future." The old imperial consort looked at Yun Chujia's small face that resembled Yilan's and could not help but feel a little out of place in her heart. That Yilan was as stubborn as a rock. She did not expect that the daughter she gave birth to would be so obedient. It was really unexpected. Yun Chujio raised her head and glanced at the old royal highness. She seemed to want to say something but hesitated. In the end, she bit her lips and said, "Grandfather, do you not like the clothes that little Gio made?" The old royal highness did not expect Yun Chujio to ask him so directly. His face stiffened and he said somewhat unnaturally, "I like it. Grandfather knows about your kind intentions. But grandmother has already given me the cloth. Why didn't you express it? Do you feel that the clothes that little Gio gave you are not valuable, so you are a little disgusted?" Yun Chujia's eyes reddened, her eyes were filled with tears, as if as long as the old royal highness said that he was disgusted, she would cry out loud. The old royal highness immediately felt numb. He usually faced men and his daughter and granddaughter were not close to him, so he had never seen such a scene before. In a moment of desperation, he casually took off a jade pendant from his waist. "Little Gio, this jade pendant is for you, don't cry." Before the servant could receive the jade pendant, a small claw snatched the jade pendant away. "Thank you, grandfather. I knew that grandfather dotes on me the most. Grandfather, not only do I know how to make clothes, I also know how to grind ink. In the future, I'll help you grind ink." The old prince looked at his empty hands and suddenly felt that he had been tricked. However, he did not hate this kind of coquettish behavior of the younger generation. Perhaps it was because he was old, but he felt that this kind of child was more straightforward. It had been a long time since the Cloud Imperial Manor had seen such an innocent child. A middle-aged man sitting at the bottom right frowned. A lady beside him immediately said with a smile, "Father, mother, I didn't expect that although little Gio grew up in the lower continent, She was lively without her parents by her side. She is really likable. It was unknown what the lattice words touched, but the old royal highness and the old consort's faces immediately darkened. They did not look at Hei Xingjiu with a trace of kindness, but a bit of disgust instead. Yun Chujiu looked at the lady who spoke. She said with a smile, "No one has introduced the people of the Yun mansion to me before, so I only recognize the grandfather and grandmother I saw in my dream. I wonder which of little Jiu's 7 aunts and 8 aunts you are?" The lattice face stiffened for a moment, and a maid beside her quickly said, "Miss Jiu, this is your aunt, who is also the current consort Yun. This is your uncle, who is also the current royal highness Yun." Yun Chujiu looked at the maid in confusion. "Why don't you just say that they are my eldest uncle and eldest aunt? Do you have to emphasize that they are the current Lord Yun and consort Yun? Grandfather and grandmother are sitting up there. Isn't it inappropriate for you to say that?" When the old lord and consort heard Yun Chujiu's words, their expressions indeed became a little ugly. Occasionally missing content, please report errors in time. Consort Yun smiled. "Little ninth girl, aunt's servant doesn't know how to speak. Aunt will punish her when she goes back. You, this little girl, are just like your mother. You're really unreasonable." When the old royal highness and the old consort heard consort Yun's words, their faces became even gloomier. Yun Chujiu saw that consort Yun's simple words not only resolved the awkwardness, but also made the old royal highness and the old consort's attitude toward her even worse. She thought that there must be a problem, and it was most likely her mother. Yun Chujiu said with a smile, "Eldest aunt must be joking. I was just asking out of curiosity. Please don't punish her. Otherwise it will be my fault." Consort Yun also smiled, but her eyes looked at Zhang Mama. "Zhang Mama, I asked you to fetch little Jiu. How did you become like this? What happened to your face?" Zhang Mama had been waiting for this opportunity. She immediately knelt on the ground and said with tears streaming down her face, "Consort, this was all caused by ninth young miss. Ninth young miss said that her father was King Yun, and her mother was consort Yun. You were just a fake. I persuaded her a few times and she beat me up like this." As soon as Zhang Mama's words left her mouth, the room immediately exploded. These people kept looking at Zhang Mama inquisitively. They were very curious about who she was beaten up by. They did not expect that it was this country bumpkin who beat her up. She was too bold. She even dared to say that consort Yun was an imposter? Was she trying to rebel? The old madam placed the teacup heavily on the table. "She really has no manners. Take her away and lock her up in the ancestral hall and kneel for 3 days." Yun Chujiu could not help but sneer in her heart. It was indeed an old lady with white eyes that she was not familiar with. Just a moment ago she was still amiable. In such a short period of time she was convicted just because of a few words from an old woman? A trace of ridicule flashed through consort Yun's eyes. A little girl still wanted to use her cuteness to play the role of a child to please that pair of old men? How stupid. Not to mention that those 2 old men could not possibly like her. Even if they were really roped in by her, now that the real power was in the hands of her and her husband, that pair of old men would not be able to cause any waves. Moreover, Shiyu was the future imperial consort, and this little girl could only let her squish and squish her. Yun Chujiu pursed her lips, then she said to the old imperial consort, "Grandmother, the so-called thunderbolts and raindrops are all gifts. If you want to punish me, little Jiu is willing to accept it. However, little Jiu can't just watch as you are deceived by this crafty slave." As soon as I entered the residence, I rushed over to greet you and grandfather, but this crafty slave told me that first aunt is the mistress of the Yun imperial residence. You don't care about anything at all, and let me directly return to the courtyard to rest. He even said that grandfather and grandmother are 2 old farts. I was so angry that I beat her up. Everyone in the room was instantly dumbfounded. The truth of the matter was actually like this? Everyone's gaze was veiled as they looked at consort Yun, especially the people from the other rooms. They wanted nothing more than to cause some trouble in the big house so that they could take the opportunity to get some benefits. Zhang Mama hurriedly knelt down a few steps. "Old consort, you're being wronged. Ninth young miss, this is purely a false accusation. Even if this old servant had 100 guts, this old servant wouldn't dare to say such outrageous words." Consort Yun forced a bitter smile on her face. "Little ninth girl, why are you doing this? Aunt originally wanted to plead on your behalf, but now that I look at you, you're really too stubborn. You really should be rigid." Occasionally missing content, please report errors in time. Yun Chujio looked at the forced smile on Consort Yun's face. What a big white lotus flower. What a pity, this little black lotus flower of hers is treating the white lotus flower. The old prince would naturally not participate in the matters of the inner residence, so he just drank his tea without saying anything. The old consort obviously did not believe Yun Chujio's words. She slapped the table and said, "Little Jio, I thought you were still a well-behaved child, but I didn't expect you to be so unpresentable. You actually made up such a lie to justify yourself. You don't have to kneel in the ancestral hall anymore. You can send her directly to the manor." The old duke stopped drinking his tea, but he didn't say anything. Everyone in the room looked at Yun Chujio gloatingly. This country bumpkin really overestimated himself. He went against the princess as soon as he arrived. Wasn't he asking for trouble? He was exactly the same as her mother. He was really stupid. Zhang Mama knelt on the ground, feeling very relieved. "Bitch, this is your retribution. You still want to threaten her? You really overestimated yourself." Yun Chujio said with an innocent and aggrieved face, "Grandmother, please calm down. I have a witness. Manager Lu heard what Zhang Mama said to you and grandfather." At that time, Manager Lu was also very angry. He helped me to give Manager Zhang Mama a slap on the face. If you don't believe me, you can check whether the slap mark on her right cheek was caused by Manager Lu. Grandma, if Manager Lu was not too angry, how could he hit Manager Zhang Mama? Manager Lu, who was suddenly in trouble? Fuck. What did this have to do with him? She was the one who asked him to hit her, okay? Only a fool would say that He Xinjiu had something on him, and that was why he listened to He Xinjiu's orders. But if he didn't say that, how could he explain that he slapped Zhang Mama? The old princess' gaze fell on the palm print on Zhang Mama's right cheek. It was obviously not the little girl's palm print. Could it be that this uncouth slave had spoken rudely and angered the little girl? Lu Hua, tell me what exactly happened? The old consort stared at Manager Lu, who was sweating profusely. Manager Lu wished he could faint at this moment. No matter what he said, it would not end well. If it was said that Zhang Mama had said those words, the consort would definitely not spare him. She might even implicate his father. However, if he were to say that Yun Chujio had used the recording stone to threaten him, he was afraid that he would also be punished. Manager Lu felt that he was extremely unlucky. If he had known earlier, he would not have followed her in. No wonder this wretched girl had allowed him to slap Zhang Mama all of a sudden. It turned out that it was all part of his plan. This wretched girl was simply a black-hearted person who ate people without spitting out their bones. He had been completely ruined by her. Manager Liu's silence instantly made the old imperial consort even angrier. She picked up the teacup and threw it at Manager Lu. "Are you mute? What on earth is going on?" Consort Yun frowned slightly and said coldly, "Lu Hua, could it be that the little ninth girl bribed you with spirit stones? As the steward of the carriage department of the prince's residence, you actually covet this little bit of profit. Truly detestable." Manager Liu's heart sank. He naturally understood Consort Yun's hint and hidden threat. He could only grit his teeth and say, "This servant knows his mistake. This servant knows his mistake." Yes, it was Ninth Miss who gave this servant spirit stones before, so this servant will listen to her arrangements. When everyone heard Manager Liu's words, they all whispered to each other. They did not expect this country bumpkin to be so quick-witted that he actually bribed Lu Hua. The old imperial consort looked at Yun Chujio with a gloomy expression. "What else do you have to say this time?" Yun Chujio bared her little white teeth at the old princess. "Grandmother, please don't be angry. Anyway, we have a lot of time. The truth will come out eventually. Manager Lu, let me ask you. Since you said that I bribed you with spirit stones, how many spirit stones did I give you?" Manager Liu's heart was like a beeping dog. He didn't even receive a single spirit stone. How much should he say now? Manager Lu gritted his teeth, closed his eyes and said, 1,000,000 high-grade spirit stones. Yun Chujio curled her lips. TSK Manager Lu, can you think before you speak? 1,000,000 high-grade spirit stones is enough for you to take the risk of offending Zhang Mama or even eldest aunt. Think carefully, how many spirit stones did I give you? Manager Lu, this was not a joke. How could two people who gave, took and accepted bribes be like this? Manager Lu almost shouted, 10 million. 10 million should be enough, right? You gave me 10 million high-grade spirit stones and then asked me to help you with your work. I feel that since you've already slapped Zhang Mama, she won't hold a grudge against me if I hit her again, so I hit her. After Manager Lu finished shouting, he almost collapsed on the ground. He finally got over it. No matter what, the princess was the mistress of the household. It was better to be punished than to offend the princess. Grandmother, alright, I admit that I gave Manager Lu 10 million high-grade spirit stones, Yun Chujio said with her head lowered. Everyone was in an uproar. Was this Yun Chujio a fool? She actually admitted it? TSK, as expected, the people from the lower-grade continent were not smart. They were just waiting to be sent to the manor. The people who were sent to the manor could not even compare to the servants in the manor. Not only did they not eat or drink well, they also had to personally plant the spirit fields and raise spirit beasts. It was simply inhuman torture. The old imperial consort was so angry that she trembled slightly. Good. Very good. As expected of the daughter of the Yi family. She hasn't even entered the Cloud King Manor yet and has already bribed the servants of the Cloud King Manor. You men take her away. I don't want to see her again. Grandmother, I did give Manager Lu 10 million upper-grade spirit stones, but it wasn't to bribe him. I wanted him to help me buy some good cloth, and then use it to make clothes for you and grandfather. Woo, this 10 million spirit stones is already my entire fortune. Now, not only am I unable to buy the cloth, I've even been bitten by him. Woo, I know that I'm not well liked by others. Otherwise it wouldn't have been so many years. Grandfather and grandmother also didn't look for me, allowing me to fend for myself. SOB, sob. It's a good thing that I triggered the recording stone by accident. Listen to it for yourself. Hey Shinjio opened the recording stone while wiping her tears. Zhang Mama's voice came from the stone. Miss Jiu, the princess has instructed us to take you to rest first. We will visit the old prince and the old princess tomorrow morning. Granny, are you sure that this is the princess idea? This is naturally the consort's intention. Everyone was stunned. Heavens, even though this Zhang Mama didn't scold the old man or anything like that, she did indeed let this country bumpkin go to rest first. Everyone was shrewd and naturally understood the hidden meaning. Presumably, Consort Yun wanted to trick this little girl, but she didn't expect to be tricked by this little girl. This was going to be interesting. The expression on the old consort's face could be said to be very complicated. At this moment, she completely understood the ins and outs of the matter and coldly glanced at Consort Yun. Consort Yun's hands clenched together under her sleeves. This stinky girl was indeed as difficult to deal with as her slut mother. She had really underestimated her. Consort Yun secretly gritted her teeth and walked up to Zhang Mama, giving her a hard slap on the face. Lowly slave. I usually treat you well, why did you fake my words to frame little ninth girl? What are your intentions? Zhang Mama's teeth had been knocked out by Consort Yun. She knew that Consort Yun had already given up on her, so she could only take the blame. Zhang Mama kept kowtowing. It's all this servant's fault. This servant really can't stand this country bumpkin flaunting his power. She's just a country bumpkin from a low-grade continent. She doesn't have the qualifications to be the miss of the Yun mansion. She might even drag down the reputation of the other young ladies. So this servant took matters into my own hands. This servant accepts the punishment. Consort Yun looked at Yun Chujio with a guilty expression. Little Jio, it's all because of First Aunt's lax command. First Aunt will apologize to you. Yun Chujio nimbly dodged to the side. First Aunt, you're killing me? What does the mistake of a dog servant have to do with you, First Aunt? It wasn't you who ordered it, right? Consort Yun was so angry that she almost fainted. However, she still smiled and said, Little Jio, it's good that you're not angry with First Aunt. First Aunt will definitely make it up to you in the future. Consort Yun emphasized the word make it up. Yun Chujio naturally knew that she was threatening, but she was never afraid of threats. Moreover, even if she was nice to her, Consort Yun would still harm her. Since that was the case, would she still spoil her for the new year? Grandmother, since First Aunt has said so, I have nothing more to say. As long as you're not angry with little Gio will be satisfied. After all, being able to be filial to you and grandfather is little Gio's greatest wish. Although Yun Chujio said so, her tears fell one after another. Her small appearance was as pitiful as it could be. Although the old imperial consort did not like her, she still could not bear to see her like this. She said coldly, Old master, how are you going to deal with these two unruly slaves? Zhang Mama is the main culprit. She framed little Gio. Then send her to the manor. Lu Hua is an accomplice. Remove him from his position as the steward of the carriage department. He will be punished with 100 canes to see the effect. Imperial Consort Yun replied respectfully. Seeing that Consort Yun did not show any favoritism, the old consort nodded slightly and said, Boss, The Yi family is not in the manor. Little Ninth has just entered the manor. You should pay more attention to her matters in the future. Yun Chujia's heart sank when she heard this. Her mother was not in the manor? Then where was she? Of course she would not ask stupidly. She could see that the old consort obviously did not like her mother very much. It was better to find an opportunity to ask someone else. Consort Yun was naturally full of promises. Then she asked someone to bring Zhang Mama and Manager Lu away. Hey, Xinjiu stretched out her little paw. Wait a moment. Manager Lu took my 10 million upper-grade spiritual stones to buy the cloth. He asked him to return the money to me first before letting him go. Otherwise, if he goes back on his word, I won't have anywhere to cry. Manager Lu finally understood why Yun Chuzhou admitted to giving him 10 million upper-grade spiritual stones just now. Damn it, she was trying to take advantage of him empty-handed. He had been cheated again. But what could he do? He was already guilty. If he said that he didn't have any spiritual stones, this black-hearted girl might come up with another way to frame him. He had every reason to believe that since this bad news bag had Zhang Mama's recording stone, it was highly likely that she had his recording stone too. 3200 Chapter 3200 The joy of fighting with others. Manager Lu almost cried as he transferred 10 million upper-grade spirit stones to Yun Chuzhou. He was just a small manager of the Yun mansion and didn't have much money at all. These spirit stones were all the black-hearted money that his father had received for so many years, and it was only because of his persuasion that he was able to get them. Now, it was all given to this black-hearted little girl. When everyone saw that Manager Lu had really transferred 10 million high-grade spiritual stones to Yun Chuzhou, they felt even more strongly that the money belonged to Yun Chuzhou. After all, a mere manager like Lu Hua would not have so much money. Yun Chuzhou felt that the Yun mansion was not bad. They had just arrived on their first day, and they had already earned a small sum of money. Moreover, it was a great joy to fight with others. After the servants brought Zhang Mama and Manager Lu away, only then did Consort Yun personally help her introduce the people present. Yun Chuzhou greeted them obediently, and those people nodded with fake smiles. As for those of the same generation, they were all indifferent, and some didn't even try to hide the disdain in their eyes. Before Yun Chuzhou could smooth out the relationship between these people, she heard a servant come in to reporting to the old Royal Highness, the old consort, the Royal Highness, the consort, the Crown Prince is here. When everyone heard this, they hurriedly stood up and prepared to go to the door to welcome him, but they didn't expect a clear voice to come from outside the door. Everyone, there's no need to be so polite. I'm just sending Shiyu back, so I came in to have a seat. Following the voice, the Crown Prince and Princess Shiyu walked in. They were a handsome man and a beautiful woman, a good pair of lovers. Although there were differences between the ruler and the ministers, the old Royal Highness and the old Royal Consort were both specially conferred by the current emperor with a rank beyond the first grade. Even when they met the emperor, they didn't have to kneel. Thus, after giving in modestly, the Crown Prince only sat on the lower right head. He did not sit on the main seat. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks. The maid served tea and pastries. After exchanging some pleasantries, Princess Yun asked gently, Shiyu, didn't you enter the palace to pay your respects to the Empress? Why did you return to the residence so quickly? The Empress happened to have other matters to attend to, so His Highness the Crown Prince sent me back. As Princess Shiyu spoke, she stole a glance at the Crown Prince beside her, and a hint of shyness appeared on her face. The Crown Prince smiled at her, and Princess Shiyu lowered her head shyly. When Princess Yun saw this, the depression that she felt from He Xinjiu was instantly swept away. As long as Shiyu became the Crown Prince's consort, not to mention this little girl, even the two old geezers above her would have to listen to her. Princess Shiyu seemed to have just remembered and asked, Mother, when I came in just now, I saw that Zhang Mama was taken away by someone. What happened? Princess Yun naturally understood her daughter's intention and sighed, Sigh. Don't mention it. This Zhang Mama framed your little ninth sister in a moment of confusion, so I punished her to go to the manor. Princess 11 Yu frowned slightly, Oh, so that's how it is. Zhang Mama is usually dutiful, but I didn't expect that she would make a mistake today. Your Highness, the red bean cake that I gave you before was taught to me by Zhang Mama. I didn't expect that. Sigh. Princess 11 Yu's sigh was like 1,000 twists and turns, causing the Crown Prince's heart to clench. He frowned. Princess Yun, that Zhang Mama didn't do anything wrong. Just punish her. Why must she send her to the manor? Besides, there's really no need to cause trouble in the manor for a person who can't make a name for himself. When the crown prince said this, he looked at Yun Chujio with disgust. Everyone naturally understood that when the crown prince said can't stand up to the public, he was referring to Yun Chujio and not Zhang Mama. Immediately, they all looked at Yun Chujio with schadenfreude. Everyone thought that Yun Chujio, a little girl, would be extremely embarrassed after hearing the crown prince's words. She might even cry out. Who would have thought that the little girl would be standing there with a smile on her lips? It was as if she had not heard anything. Everyone pursed their lips. This country bumpkin probably did not realize that the crown prince was talking about her. Otherwise, how could she be so calm? The crown prince, Lung Tianche, looked at Yun Chujio with even more disgust. This country bumpkin couldn't even understand his words. Was the imperial tutor's brain damaged? Lung Tianche thought of what his father had once said to him and simply felt that it was extremely laughable. Just as Lung Tianche was thinking about it, Consort Yun Zhengshi's words interrupted his thoughts. Your Highness is right. We will do as your Highness orders. Lung Tianche nodded, then looked at Yun Chujio and said sarcastically, Who is she? Why isn't she here to kowtow when she sees me? Everyone looked at Yun Chujio gloatingly. When the crown prince came in earlier, everyone had bowed. The crown prince was obviously going to punish Yun Chujio and avenge Princess Shiyu. Although according to the etiquette, everyone had to kneel and worship the crown prince when they saw him, most of the time these young ladies from the prestigious families would just bow to him. The crown prince would not pursue the matter. Pan Dian 0ve1 cm however, today, it was obvious that the crown prince was going to take care of Yun Chujio. There would be a good show to watch. Yun Chujio narrowed her eyes. Was this bullshit crown prince crazy? Did she provoke him? It seemed that even the crown prince was not a good person. Aog was not a good person, and this crown prince was even worse. Yun Chujio was naturally unwilling to kneel and worship. What right did a bullshit crown prince have to make her kneel and worship? However, if she did not kneel and worship, this crown prince would definitely punish her. She still had many things to do. She could not lose her little life just like that. Lung Tianche saw that Yun Chujio did not move for a long time, and his face immediately darkened. What? You actually dare to disobey my orders? Or do you not take me seriously at all? Princess Shiyu's face revealed a worried expression. She gently advised, Your Highness, little sister Jiu is new here. She did not deliberately ignore Your Highness' words. Maybe she did not react in time. Little sister Jiu, didn't you hear what Your Highness said? Hurry up and come over. Don't make Your Highness angry. Yun Chujio rolled her eyes in her heart. As expected of a white lotus flower. It looked like she was pleading for her, but in fact she was adding fuel to the fire. Sure enough, when Lung Tianche heard Princess Shiyu's words, his face became even gloomier. He stared at Yun Chujio fiercely. The old imperial consort was afraid that Lung Tianche would get angry, so she glared fiercely at Yun Chujio. Little Jiu, what are you still standing there for? Hurry up and kowtow to His Highness the Crown Prince. The old imperial consort couldn't help but feel stifled. This little girl seemed to be quite clever before, but why was she now in a daze? As expected, those from the lower-class continent couldn't be put on the stage. Yun Chujio seemed to have woken up from a dream. She shivered a few times and then said weakly, His Highness the Crown Prince is talking to me? I thought he was talking to Sister Shiyu. Everyone, no wonder her expression was normal and she did not have any reaction. It turned out that she really did not know that the Crown Prince was talking about her? She was really stupid. However, she was quite smart just now. Why did she suddenly become stupid? She was probably scared by the Crown Prince's majesty. After all, she was a country bumpkin who had not seen much of the world. The Crown Prince, Lung Tianche, snorted in disdain. This Yun Chujio not only had low spiritual power, but she was also not very smart. It seemed that the imperial tutor had made a mistake this time. Lung Tianche looked at Yun Chujio coldly. Now you know that I am talking to you, right? Come and kneel down and worship me. Yun Chujio showed a fearful expression and walked to Lung Tianche. Princess Shiyu's eyes flashed with a trace of pride. This country bumpkin actually dared to oppose her mother. He was simply courting death. She would definitely learn a lesson today. Sister Shiyu, I don't know how to kowtow. Teach me. And I'm very stupid. You'd better show me a few more times. Otherwise it won't be good if I do the wrong bow, Yun Chujio said weakly. Princess Shiyu, this country bumpkin must have done it on purpose. Her demonstration? She taught her how to kowtow in front of everyone? How many times? Then wouldn't she still have face? Lung Tianche snorted coldly, "There's no need for Shiyu to teach you, just kneel down." Princess Shiyu looked at Lung Tianche gratefully, and Lung Tianche returned a loving look, and He Xingjiu almost vomited. As expected, a bitch and a dog forever and ever. Make her kneel? It would be best if a bolt of lightning struck this bastard couple to death. Boom. A loud thunder startled everyone in the room. Why was there thunder all of a sudden? Consort Yun Jingshi sent someone out to check. Then, the maid came in with a complicated expression and reported, "Consort, that bolt of lightning struck Zhang Mama just now. Zhang Mama was knocked unconscious." He Xingjiu clapped her hands. "Oh my god. As expected, good will be rewarded with evil. That old slave deceived the superiors and the subordinates. This time he got his retribution. Even the heavens can't stand it anymore." Yun Chuzhou felt that the heavenly lightning came at the right time. Although her Jinx mouth skill was not effective at times, it was really powerful this time. When the people in the room heard Yun Chuzhiu's words, they fell into silence for a moment. They looked at Lung Tianche with a complicated gaze. Even the Tian Dao would not tolerate a person, yet the crown prince helped her to exonerate her. This did not seem to make sense. Lung Tianche's expression was very ugly. The royal family had always claimed to be the chosen one, but just now, he had helped a person that the Tian Dao would not tolerate to exonerate her. If this were to be spread out, although it was not a big deal. But those restless people could not help but make a fuss about this matter. When Lung Tianche thought of this, he could not help but vent his anger on Princess Shiyu beside him. If she had not said something about red bean cake, he would not have cared about the life and death of an old woman. But he had already said it, how could he take it back? When Princess Shiyu saw Lung Tianche's expression, her heart instantly sank. She bit her lips and said, "Your Highness, just now Shiyu was muddle-headed. Zhang Mama did something wrong and should indeed be punished. It's better to send her to the manor." Let's do as you say." Lung Tianche saw that Princess Shiyu took the initiative to give him a way out, and the anger in his heart could not help but dissipate a lot. Shiyu was still so understanding. She was indeed a good match for him. Yun Chuzhou was a little puzzled. She said that just now to divert everyone's attention. She did not expect that the crown prince would change his mind. It seemed that there were still many things that she needed to understand about this towering sky continent. This guy was afraid that the crown prince would make her kneel again. He rolled his eyes, covered his chest and said, "Ouch, ouch, my old habit is acting up again. It hurts so much." He Xingjiu cried out as she pounced on Princess Shiyu. "Sister Shiyu, my heart hurts so much. Please save me." He Xingjiu grabbed her heart with one hand and twisted Princess Shiyu's arm with the other. Princess Shiyu pushed her subconsciously and He Xingjiu flew out and fell to the ground with a thud. "Sister Shiyu, you. Woo-woo, why do you hate me so much? It's fine if you don't support me, but why did you push me? My heart hurts so much. I'm most likely going to die." He Xingjiu said with tears in her eyes. Princess Shiyu hurriedly explained, No, it wasn't me. I didn't push her. She fell on her own." The crowd naturally didn't believe what she said. They weren't blind. They watched helplessly as she pushed the country bumpkin. That was why the country bumpkin fell so hard. Although the crowd did not like Yun Chuzhou, there were even more people who were jealous of Princess Shiyu. Hence, they looked at Princess Shiyu with a hint of mockery in their eyes. Lung Tianche saw that Princess Shiyu was very aggrieved and embarrassed. He snorted coldly and said, "I can testify that Shiyu did not push her. She must have tripped over herself." When Lung Tianche said this, although the crowd knew that he was protecting Princess Shiyu, they could not say anything. They could only look at He Xingjiu, who was sitting on the ground and humming. He Xingjiu widened her eyes in disbelief, her face full of grievance and shock. "Your Highness, you." Before He Xingjiu could finish her words, she choked and fainted. The old prince coughed and said, "Jingshi, why don't you send someone to send little Jiu back to her room? Then take my invitation and invite the imperial physician over to take a look." "Your Highness, I'm really sorry. Little Jiu has just returned. She did not know her manners and offended you. Please don't blame her." Lung Tianche felt very angry in his heart, but he couldn't tell what the reason was. In any case, ever since he saw this country bumpkin, his mood hadn't been good. He nodded. "Your Highness, you're too kind. I still have things to deal with. I'll take my leave now." Everyone stood up to send him off. Lung Tianche waved his hand and left with a gloomy expression. Princess Shiyu quickly chased after him. "Your Highness, it's all Shiyu's fault today. I shouldn't have let you get involved in Shiyu's family matters. Princess Shiyu's eyes turned red as she spoke, and her tone became choked with sobs. Lung Tianche held her hand and said tenderly, "It has nothing to do with you. It's just that I don't like that country bumpkin. You don't have to take it to heart. In a few days he'll come and pick you up. We'll go to the other courtyard to play." Princess Shiyu nodded shyly and then sent Lung Tianche out of the cloud mansion. Princess Shiyu turned around, her eyes full of viciousness. Damn country bumpkin. She had just entered the mansion and she was already embarrassed. Let's wait and see. When Princess Shiyu returned to the old imperial consort's courtyard, everyone had already dispersed. She simply went straight to Imperial Consort Yun's Zheng Shi's courtyard. After sitting for quite a while, Zheng Shi returned. "Mother, how is that country bumpkin? She has woken up, but she's just moaning and moaning about how she feels dizzy and her heart aches. I've already sent someone to invite the imperial physician. Shiyu, you were too impulsive today. Next time, don't let the crown prince get involved in the matters of our cloud imperial residence, understand?" Zheng Shi said seriously. Princess Shiyu nodded. "Mother, you're right. I was indeed a little impulsive today. I just didn't expect that country bumpkin to be so difficult to deal with. Mother, why must father bring her back?" Consort Yun Zheng Shi frowned. "At the beginning of the year, when the emperor summoned your father, he mentioned that your second uncle had a daughter in the immortal Yuan continent, but he didn't say anything else. Your father thought that the emperor was hinting at him to bring that country bumpkin back, so he sent people to prepare to head to the immortal Yuan continent. Who would have thought that those people would be killed on the way? PND and Ovin one what? Killed. No wonder the guards who looked familiar disappeared. So they are dead. Mother, who did it?" Princess Shiyu asked in surprise. Zheng Shi shook her head. "Your father sent people to investigate, but they didn't find anything. Your father felt that there should be someone who didn't want that country bumpkin to come back. Anyway, we didn't want that country bumpkin to come back, so your father put this matter aside. He did not expect that 2 months ago the emperor had once again mentioned that country bumpkin. Your father had no choice but to send someone to fetch that country bumpkin again. He originally thought that there would be someone who would stop him. He did not expect that this time he actually successfully brought that country bumpkin back." Princess Shiyu frowned. "Mother, second uncle has been missing for several years. There is a high chance that he is already dead. Why must the emperor bring that country bumpkin back?" Zheng Shi shook her head. "Your father and I are also puzzled. She is just a little girl, so we can bring her back. If it is a boy, then we cannot keep him." Princess Shiyu's face flashed with suspicion. She gritted her teeth. "Mother, could it be that father deliberately brought her back to threaten the Yi family?" The teacup in Zheng Shi's hand fell to the ground. "Shiyu, what did you say?" Princess Shiyu held Zheng Shi's hand. "Mother, I know everything. You don't have to hide it from me." When she brought the Yi family back, she wanted to ask second uncle about his whereabouts. But later on, my father clearly took a liking to that bitch from the Yi family. Otherwise, you wouldn't have spent so much effort to send that bitch from the Yi family away. Zheng Shi's expression was ferocious. "Since you already know, I won't hide it from you. I've long wanted to kill that bitch from the Yi family, but your father sent many people to protect that bitch. However, that bitch from the Yi family was set up by me to go there. Your father has no way to enter. Moreover, that bitch from the Yi family has already fallen into 1,000 days of sleep. It won't be long before she dies silently. As for that bitch Yun Chujio, he'll let her prance around for a few days for now. If it's your father's wish, then find a chance to kill her. If it's the emperor's wish, let's not act rashly for the time being." On the other side, Hei Shinjio was lying on the bed, whimpering as she pondered on her next step. It was obvious that she wanted to gain a foothold in the Yun mansion. The most important thing at the moment was to cling onto the old prince and the old princess thighs, otherwise she would probably be harmed by her uncle's family until not even her bones were left. Also, that crown prince seemed to hate her very much. It was really strange. She did not offend him, so why did he hate her so much? Alright, and where exactly was her mother sent to? She had to find an opportunity to find out. Hei Shinjio was a little tired after going through all this. In her half-asleep state, she heard a voice. When she opened her eyes, she saw Zheng Shi accompanying an old man into the bedroom. "Little Jiu, this is Imperial Physician Wang. Let him take a look at you," Zheng Shi said gently. If outsiders looked at it, they would think that this aunt was very concerned about her little niece that she had just found. She was more concerned about her than her own daughter. Yun Chujio smiled weakly. "Thank you for your trouble, Imperial Physician Wang. My body has always been weak. I often feel dizzy and faint. Maybe it's because I'm an orphan, so I've suffered too much. Unlike Sister Shiyu, who has a strong body. She pushed me lightly and I fell to this state. Jing Shi. Zheng Shi wished she could sew Yun Chujia's mouth shut. This damn brat must have done it on purpose. It was fine if you said that your body wasn't well, but why did you have to bring Shiyu along? Wasn't this clearly trying to ruin Shiyu's reputation? Zheng Shi sighed. Imperial Physician Wang, I've made a fool of myself. This child is most likely sick and confused. She's even starting to spout nonsense. You'd better hurry up and take a look at her. Imperial Physician Wang was used to the shady and private affairs of the rear residence, so he did not continue the conversation and began to check He Xinjia's pulse. He Xinjio had long let the Guai Chao make her pulse weak and disorderly. Therefore, Imperial Physician Wang's brows were tightly knitted. After a long while he finally withdrew his hand. Consort Yun 9th Miss pulse is weak and weak. Moreover, it seems that the sunflower water has not arrived yet, and her body is severely depleted. No wonder she said that she often feels dizzy and weak. Fortunately, she has the spiritual power, or else the consequences would be worrisome. They'll prescribe a few doses of medicine to take first. Pay attention to rest and don't have any violent mood swings. Otherwise, the illness will worsen, Imperial Physician Wang said with a sigh. He had seen many patients, but this was the first time he had seen a pulse that was so chaotic. It was really not easy for this little girl to live until now. Consort Yun was really stunned. She thought that Yun Chujio was pretending, but she didn't expect that she was really sick. And it sounded like she had a short life? Good, very good. It would prevent her from making a move. Although Zheng Shi was happy in her heart, she had a worried expression on her face. She asked for some precautions and then asked someone to send Imperial Physician Wang out. Little Jio, take care of yourself. If you need anything, ask the servants in your courtyard to look for me, Zheng Shi said gently. Thank you very much, Auntie. Little Jio is not feeling well, so I won't send you off. He Xinjio coughed a few times as she spoke. Zheng Shi saw that Yun Chujio was half dead and felt very relieved. She said a few more fake words and then left. Yun Chujio saw that Zheng Shi had left and said weakly, "The two of you come in for a moment." The two handmaidens came in and bowed. Shi Hua and Shi Shui pay their respects to Miss Jio. Yun Chujio sat on the bed and sized up the two handmaidens. She did not speak for a long time. The two handmaiden charts were in a mess. What did Miss Jio mean? Yun Chujio chuckled and said, "Did Aunt ask you to report my every move to her? And she also asked you to be more respectful to me so that I wouldn't find fault with you?" Shi Hua and Shi Shui's expressions changed. Just as they were about to defend themselves, they heard Yun Chujio say with a smile, "You don't have to explain. I won't believe you even if you tell me. You must have heard that I took care of Zhang Mama and Manager Lu. I can take care of both of them, not to mention you two little beauties. If you want to live, just swear to your inner demons that you will never betray me. Otherwise I will kill you now. I believe that the Yun mansion won't do anything to me just because I killed two handmaidens." Shi Hua and Shi Shui quickly knelt on the ground. Shi Hua said with a trembling voice, "Ninth Miss, please spare my life. Ninth Miss, please spare my life. We will not betray you." "Then swear." "Ninth Miss, this you may not know this. In the Towering Sky continent, there is no such thing as an inner demon oath. Even if you swear on your inner demons, it will be useless." Yun Chujio frowned. There was no such thing as a heart demon oath? Oh my, then she could no longer use the heavenly thunder oath to fool others. Seeing that Yun Chujio did not speak, Shi Hua was afraid that she would not believe her, so she continued, "Miss Jio, what I said is true. There is no heart demon oath in Towering Sky continent, only blood oath. If both parties want to make a bet or make an oath, they have to go to the Divine Hall to find the Imperial Tutor to sign the blood oath. If either party breaks the blood oath, they will be punished by heaven." Imperial Tutor? There was such a species? Yun Chujio felt more and more confused. She took out 2 pills and said, "Eat this. If you dare to betray me, you will never get the antidote." Shi Hua and Shi Shui naturally did not want to eat it, but when they thought about how Zhang Mama had been tricked by this 9th Miss, they were no match for her, so they had no choice but to swallow the pills. "You should report it tomorrow. Just say that I'm half dead. I coughed for a long time in the middle of the night and vomited blood. Do you understand?" Naturally, Shi Hua and Shi Shui did not dare to disobey and nodded repeatedly. "By the way, in order to avoid suspicion, take turns to cough tonight." In case Aunt wants to see a bloody handkerchief, you should let out some blood. Yun Chuzhou took out a handkerchief and threw it to Xihua. Xihua and Xishui felt that their future was bleak. They could imagine that their future would be miserable. They had been unlucky for 8 lifetimes. How could they be sent to this monster by the princess consort? When the two of them were feeling hopeless, they heard Yun Chuzhou say lightly, "Don't worry. If you are obedient, I won't mistreat you. Take these spirit stones and play with them." Xihua and Xishui saw the extra 1,000,000 upper-grade spirit stones in their storage rings, and they were so scared that they sat down on the ground and almost fainted. Ninth Miss, this is too much. Yes, Ninth Miss, did you take the wrong turn all of a sudden? The corners of Yun Chuzhiou's mouth curled up. Not much, this is just a small matter. I've always been clear about the rewards and punishments for my own people. Moreover, if you don't have money, how are you going to help me? As long as you are loyal, not only will the spirit stones not be a problem, but I will also give you a bright future. Xihua and Xishui trembled as they thanked her. They practically scrambled out of Yun Chuzhiou's bedroom. Yun Chuzhou did not care at all whether the two maids would expose her. If they were loyal, that would be the best. If they betrayed her, those spirit stones would be the best evidence for her to bite back. Why was she becoming more and more evil? There were white lotus flowers all over the floor of King Yun's residence. If she, the little black lotus, wanted to survive, she could only be blacker. She was also helpless. The reason why she pretended to be weak and sickly was to let those people think that she was a short-lived ghost. At least she would be able to stop for a while. Therefore, the next morning, Zheng Shi heard the report from the people lying in ambush outside He Xinjia's courtyard. "Princess, since midnight yesterday, Ninth Miss has been coughing non-stop. In the middle of it, we even heard the cries of the two maids. We vaguely heard something like vomiting blood." Zheng Shi and Princess Xiyu looked at each other. They did not expect that country bumpkin to be a sickly person. This time it was even less troublesome. After a while, Xihua saw Zheng Shi and reported again. It was almost exactly the same as what she had said before. Zheng Shi nodded and asked, "Xihua, why is your voice hoarse?" Xihua said respectfully, "Princess, Ninth Miss spent half the night yesterday. I may have caught a cold. It's not a big deal." Zheng Shi did not take it seriously and waved Xihua off. Xihua walked out of Zheng Shi's courtyard. She did not know how she felt. Why was her voice hoarse? Of course it was caused by coughing. That little devil made her and Xishui take turns to cough for 4 hours. Xihua recalled what the little devil had said to her when she had arrived. Xishui, why are you so careless? Did you catch a cold? Is that why your voice is hoarse? You're my people now. I feel sorry for you." Xihua had wanted to strangle her to death. However, when she heard the princess question, she realized that the little devil had probably predicted that the princess would ask about her voice, so he had prepared an excuse for her. This Ninth Miss was really a monster. When Xihua was walking back, she coincidentally met many maids on the way. Whether intentionally or unintentionally, they were all asking about Yun Chuzhou. Xihua told them about what she said to Zheng Shi. Therefore, in less than a day, everyone in the Yun family knew that the newly returned Ninth Miss was a pot of medicine. It was said that she would faint if her emotions fluctuated, and it was not certain that she would die directly. Apart from the disgust and disdain towards He Xinjiu, there was also a little bit of pity and schadenfreude. This country bumpkin's life was really tough. It was not easy for him to return to the Yun family, but he was unexpectedly short-lived. It seemed that he would die sooner or later. Yun Chuzhou was very satisfied with these rumors. This way she could not only numb Zheng Shi and the others, but also avoid some trouble. After all, no one was willing to marry a sickly man. This way she was not afraid that Zheng Shi would have designs on her marriage. The people of the Yun family sent people to deliver some supplements, but they were all sent by servants. Not a single master came to visit Yun Chuzhou. When Ji Mama, who was beside the old princess, came, she not only brought some supplements but also some cloth. However, the color of the cloth was bright, so it was obvious that they were all for Yun Chuzhou. Ninth Miss, the old princess said that you are not well, so don't help her and the old prince to make clothes. It's important to recuperate well. As long as you don't do anything wrong, you will always be the Ninth Miss of the Yun family, Ji Mama said respectfully. Yun Chuzhou felt the meaning in her words. As long as you don't do anything wrong? Was she telling her to behave? However, there was another meaning in her words. Was she preparing to send her to the Yun family's jade archive? Ji Mama, please tell grandmother that I will take good care of myself. When I am better, I will go and pay my respects to her. After Ji-mama left, Yun Chuzhou called Shi-hua and Shi-shui into the house and asked about some things. Although Yun Chuzhou learned a lot from them, Shi-hua and Shi-shui did not know the whereabouts of the Yi family. They only knew that the Yi family had angered the old princess consort and was sent out of the Yun mansion. As for where they were sent to, the two of them did not know. Yun Chuzhou frowned. She could ask the two maids to inquire about it, but if it was not done well it would backfire, so it was best to stay put for the time being. 5 days later was the old consort's birthday, and it was also her first public appearance in Towering Sky Continent. However, she was now a patient, so she naturally could not leave the residence. Shi-hua and Shi-shui did not have tokens, so they could not leave the residence. What should she give the ungrateful old lady as a birthday gift? Yun Chuzhiou's gaze fell on the few pieces of cloth that Ji-mama had sent over. Although the colors were very bright, if she had a little bit of thought she could still make a difference. Time flew by and soon 5 days had passed. The position of the Cloud King's mansion in the East Phoenix Kingdom was unshakable. Although the strength of the Cloud King's mansion had decreased after the disappearance of the previous Cloud King, as long as the Yun family's army was present, even the emperor would not easily offend the Cloud King's mansion. Therefore, there was an endless stream of people who came to congratulate the old consort on her birthday. The entire Cloud King's mansion was filled with laughter and joy. In stark contrast, He Xinjia's courtyard was completely silent. No one even came to inform her to attend the birthday banquet. Shi-hua and Shi-shui looked at each other. They felt that the little devil in the room should not be so quiet. After all, her illness was all an act. Just as they were thinking, the bedroom door was pushed open. When they saw the person who came out, their eyes widened in surprise. She was dressed in red and her eyes were arrogant. Although this person was still the same person, why did it feel like she was a completely different person? Although the original Miss Jiao was very good-looking, she always felt that she was still childish and careless. However, the woman in red in front of them was so dazzling that people could not take their eyes off her. When the two of them were stunned, they saw He Xinjiao frowning slightly. She covered her chest with her hand and coughed twice. "Why aren't you coming over to support me? Do you want to see your miss faint?" Shi-hua, Shi-shui, how could she change her expression so quickly? She was so arrogant a moment ago, but in the next moment she turned into a pitiful sick beauty. This ninth miss was really a monster. Yun Chuzhou took a few steps forward weakly and said, "Let's go. Let's go to the birthday banquet. As a granddaughter it's not right for me not to go." "Miss Jiao, but no one informed us? If we go rashly, won't we make the princess unhappy? Besides, you didn't prepare a birthday gift," 11 Hua said weakly. "She's unhappy? It's better if she dies of anger. Don't care so much. Come, you two support me." "I don't even have the strength to walk now," He Xinjiao said weakly. Shi-hua cursed in her heart. She didn't have the strength? She had eaten more than the two of them. Did she eat all that food into the dog's stomach? Shi-hua and Shi-shui supported He Xinjiao out of the courtyard and slowly walked towards the hall where the birthday banquet was held. Shi-hua and Shi-shui wanted to walk faster, but He Xinjiao was like a boneless person. She was almost carried forward by the two of them. The two of them felt as if their minds had been blown away. Their master had been tormenting them for a day, but they had to carry He Xinjiao when they could have walked on their own. He Xinjiao said in a low voice, "Are you cursing me in your heart? You think I can walk but you're carrying me?" Shi-hua and Shi-shui were so frightened that their faces turned pale. This little devil couldn't read minds, so how could she always guess what they were thinking? Yun Chuzhou laughed lightly. "Who knows if there are spies around here, so it's better to be careful." Yun Chuzhou added silently in her heart. A good show must come to an end. If she didn't stall for time, how could she make a grand entrance? Her biological father, Yun Fengjin, was the god of war of the East Phoenix Kingdom. Although his life and death were unknown now, as his daughter, she naturally wouldn't embarrass him. Even though she was only a weakling at the 8th layer of the spiritual space realm, even though she was alone and helpless, even though she was currently weak and sickly, Yun Fengjin and Yilan's daughter could have nothing, but she could not lose her pride. The things that should have belonged to her father, and the things that belonged to her mother, had to be obediently spat out. There was still time in the future, so there was no rush. Take your time. At this moment, in the hall, the main event of the birthday banquet was being held. The Yun family's juniors were sending birthday gifts one after another. Among the juniors, Princess Shiyu was in the limelight. Not only did she give the old princess a very expensive Tianxian snow ginseng, but she also played a song. Everyone repeatedly praised Princess Shiyu for her filial piety, superb zither skills and so on. In short, all of them were full of praise. Seeing that her daughter was so capable, even though Jing Shi tried her best to hide it, her face still revealed some complacency. At this moment, a few soft coughs came from outside the door. The hall was very lively. According to common sense, only a few light coughs would be heard, so naturally no one would hear it. However, everyone did hear it. Everyone turned their heads to look at the entrance of the hall. They saw a red-clothed girl standing at the door. She didn't look too good, probably due to her weak body. The girl's body leaned slightly on one of the maids. Seeing everyone's gaze, her face turned slightly red, as if she felt a little uncomfortable. Everyone whispered to each other. "Who is this girl?" Someone exclaimed softly, "Ah, this should be the 9th Miss of the Cloud King's mansion. She was just brought back from the previous phase. I heard that her body is not too good. This little girl is really good looking. She is even more beautiful than Princess Shiyu. Unfortunately, she is a medicine jar. Otherwise, there would definitely be many people coming to her door to ask for her hand in marriage. Not only is she a medicine jar, there's a high chance that the previous Lord Yun has already met with misfortune. The Yi family didn't even send the Yun family's jade archive. This 9th Miss position in the Cloud King Manor is very delicate." The young lady seemed to have heard everyone's discussion, so she stubbornly made the maidservant beside her step back. The maidservant's face revealed a worried expression. Clearly, she was afraid that the young lattice body wouldn't be able to hold on, but she still retreated behind the young lady. The girl bit her lip. The shyness and awkwardness on her face instantly turned into a bright and beautiful smile. She slowly walked into the hall with light steps. Everyone couldn't help but gasp. If the girl had been like this at the beginning, perhaps they would only find it pleasing to the eye. However, the bright and beautiful smile at this moment was a strong contrast to the weak and sickly state from before. It was extremely stunning. At this moment, everyone's gaze fell on the young lady. Even though the young lattice hands were trembling slightly due to her nervousness, it still could not hide the young lattice's bright and beautiful appearance. At this moment, everyone could not help but sigh in their hearts. She was indeed worthy of being the daughter of the god of war Yun Fengjin. Such peerless beauty was truly stunning. While everyone was amazed, they could not help but feel a little pity. If Yun Fengjin was still here, there would be no need for Princess Shiyu to be involved. She was the real princess. Moreover, this 9th Miss health was not good, so her lifespan was probably limited. No family would marry such a short-lived daughter-in-law. Moreover, her spiritual power was very low. No matter how good-looking she was, it would be useless. Princess Shiyu's palm was bleeding from her fingernails. She was clearly the most popular woman at the banquet today, but she did not expect that this damn country bumpkin would steal the limelight. It was really hateful. Although Princess Shiyu's heart was filled with hatred, the smile on her face was still gentle. She took a step forward and blocked in front of Yun Chujio, saying with concern, "Ninth sister, are you feeling better? Last time when you suddenly fainted, it scared grandmother quite a bit. Elder sister knows that you have just returned to the Yun residence and want to see the world. But today is grandmother's birthday banquet. Can your body hold up?" Princess Shiyu's words seemed to be incoherent, but the hidden meaning was very obvious. You are just a country bumpkin who wants to show off, but don't faint at grandmother's birthday banquet. It would be a disappointment and a disgrace. The old imperial consort frowned slightly, and her heart was a little unhappy. The birthday banquet was a happy event, and if it was really disturbed by little Jiu, it would really be bad luck. Everyone looked at Yun Chujio with disdain and ridicule in their eyes. So it was to show off. No wonder she wore a red dress. Those from the lower continent were just not presentable. Occasionally missing content, please report errors in time. Yun Chujio's face was slightly flushed and her eyes were filled with tears. Her body trembled slightly. "Third sister, although my body isn't well, it's fine if I'm not stimulated. I just want to pay my respects to grandmother. If you're not happy then I'll go back now." Princess Shiyu's face stiffened. What did she mean by unhappy? With that said, it was as if she had forced her to go back. This country bumpkin was really sharp-tongued. "Ninth sister, I'm just concerned about you. You're thinking too much. Hurry up and congratulate grandmother on her birthday." Princess Shiyu said with a stiff face. "Thank you for your concern, third sister. It's just that third sister, you're blocking my way. Please move aside. Yun Chujio said somewhat timidly. Princess Shiyu retreated to the side, but she was very angry in her heart. She always felt that Yun Chujio's words had a double meaning. Damn bitch. Yun Chujio smiled apologetically at the crowd and then continued to walk forward. When the crowd saw Yun Chujio's apologetic smile and looked at the stiff face of Princess Shiyu, they had a subtle contrast in their hearts. Compared to Princess Shiyu, this medicine jar looked more elegant and magnanimous. No matter how they looked at Princess Shiyu's behavior just now, they felt that she was petty. When everyone was deep in thought, they heard Yun Chujio clearly say, "Little Jio wishes grandmother good health. The more she lives, the younger she will be. She will always be as beautiful as a flower." The old imperial consort lightly reprimanded, "You have no filter. You are already an old woman, how can you still be as beautiful as a flower?" Although the old royal consort said this, there was no trace of annoyance on her face. It was obvious that her words had hit the nail on the head. No matter how old a woman was, she would always care about her own appearance. "Grandmother, don't be modest. You're even more beautiful than a flower. Grandfather, don't you agree?" Hei Shinjio winked at the old royal highness. The old royal highness' old face instantly turned red. Pitifully, this was the first time in his life that he was at a loss for what to do. The old royal highness could only nod his head and acknowledge her. The old imperial consort's face instantly turned even redder. When imperial consort Yun Zhengshi saw that Yun Chujio was in the limelight and had even subtly surpassed her own daughter, she was very angry. Her gaze then turned to Lady Liao, the fourth son of the Yun family. Lady Liao understood and said with a smile, "Little Jio's little mouth really knows how to talk. I wonder what kind of precious birthday gift you have prepared?" Liao sure felt that Yun Chujio would not be able to bring out anything good. When she took out the gift, she would mock her a few more times and make her lose face. Jing Shi would definitely not mistreat her. Yun Chujio's face turned red. "Fourth aunt, you also know that I am very poor, so I did not prepare anything too precious for grandmother. Moreover, I feel that the birthday gift does not depend on whether it is precious or not, but on the intention. Grandmother, don't you agree?" The old imperial consort naturally wouldn't refute, or else wouldn't it appear that she was a person who loved money. Thus, the old imperial consort said with a smile, "Little Jio is right. As long as the intention is there, it doesn't matter whether it's valuable or not. Little Jio, what kind of birthday gift did you prepare exactly? Grandmother is looking forward to it very much." Liao Shi's neck was pounded into a big pot of roast chicken, and she was embarrassed and didn't say a word. She snorted coldly in her heart. "This country bumpkin has a good mouth, let's see what kind of lousy thing you can take out." Little Jio made a piece of clothing for grandmother. Because she was not in good spirits these few days, she did not do it well. "I hope grandmother won't mind," Yun Chujio said shyly. When the old imperial consort heard Yun Chujio say this, she was more or less touched. Little Jio had not been feeling well recently, and it was said that she often coughed in the middle of the night. She had even made clothes for her. However, the fabric that she had asked G Mama to send her last time did not have a color suitable for the elderly. Could it be that she was still made of snow jade silk? If that was the case, it would be a laughing stock. Therefore, when Yun Chujio took out the clothes that were wrapped tightly in cloth, the old imperial consort heaved a sigh of relief. She thought to herself, this little girl is really smart. Hence, she wanted to directly put the package away. After that, a few pleasantries were exchanged. Who would have thought that after Lady Liao received Zheng Shi's gaze, she smiled and said, "Mother, I heard that little Nine's craftsmanship is not bad. Please open it and let us admire it." The old imperial consort was so angry that she wished she could slap this idiot Lady Liao away. However, with her taking the lead, some madams also joined in the fun, clamoring to broaden their horizons. The old imperial consort had no choice. She thought to herself, if it's embarrassing, then so be it. After all, everyone knew that this little ninth came from a low-grade continent. Therefore, the old imperial consort opened the parcel. When the old princess saw a corner of the cloth that was revealed from the package, her expression instantly became somewhat unsightly. It was actually aqua pink? An old lady like her wearing aqua pink clothes? This little Jill was really out of tune. Could it be that she had given her own clothes to her as a birthday gift? Everyone also saw the corner of the aqua pink clothes, and their expressions instantly became meaningful. They had never thought that this Yun Chujio would actually give the old princess an aqua pink dress. This was too out of tune. Lady Liao said sharply, "Little Jio, fourth aunt has to say something about you." How could your grandmother wear an aqua pink dress? Just now you said that this birthday present valued the intention, yet you're just fooling your grandmother? Could it be that you made this dress for yourself? No wonder you even wrapped it with a cloth. You're really... sigh. When everyone heard Lady Liao's words, their gazes towards Yun Chujio also became filled with disdain and ridicule. As expected, she was unpresentable. She actually used her own dress as a birthday present. This was simply disobedience and unfilial. Yun Chujio stared at Mrs. Liao in disbelief. Fourth aunt, how can you say that? What's wrong with grandmother? Why can't grandmother wear aqua pink clothes? Grandmother looks much younger than you. If you can wear it, why can't grandmother wear it? Mrs. Liao's face immediately stiffened. The old imperial consort was much younger than her? This damn girl's words were too sarcastic. Yun Chujio continued, besides, who said that old people can only wear those dark colors? If it wasn't because I was afraid that grandmother wouldn't be able to accept it in a short time, I even planned to make grandmother clothes that were the same color as mine. Fourth aunt, filial piety isn't just talk. I would rather bear the risk of being scolded by grandmother to let grandmother try out a new style of clothing. Who knows, maybe grandmother will look good in it. As long as grandmother is happy, I am willing to bear the risk of being scolded. Hei Shinjio coughed a few times as she said this. Her hand rested on her forehead and her body trembled slightly. It was obvious that she was emotionally agitated. Lady Liao did not dare to make a sound. Emma, if this wretched girl really fainted, others would say that she was the one who fainted out of anger. Moreover, the old consort would not forgive her for ruining the birthday banquet. On the other hand, the old consort was rather moved by Yun Chujio's words. Her clothes were dark and had not changed for 1,000 years. It had been a long time since she had worn fresh and tender colors. Hence, she unwittingly took out the entire set of clothes from the package. Everyone's gaze fell on the set of clothes in the old consort's hands. Occasionally missing content, please report errors in time. Everyone cried out in surprise, especially some of the older madams. Their eyes were a little straight. The exposed water pink was just a decoration on the cuff. Furthermore, it had to be covered with a cloth. At that time, it would only be faintly discernible. The main body of the clothes was water blue. To be exact, it was a slightly darker blue than water blue. This way, the old consort would not feel very eye-catching when she wore it, and it would also be different from the original dark color. Behind the old imperial consort, G-Mama's eyes flashed. She remembered that the cloth that she had sent over was clearly aqua blue. How did it become such a suitable color for the old madam? Not only was the color of the dress eye-catching, but the style was also novel that she had never seen before. The hem of the dress was embroidered with an elegant twig peony. It was luxurious and elegant. The old madam simply could not put it down and could not wait to try it on immediately. Some of the older madams also praised it endlessly. Although the dress was not too expensive, the ninth Miss Kindness was really rare. At this moment, Yun Chujio coughed a few more times. Everyone sighed. They heard that the ninth Miss was not in good health and that she had only come because she had worked hard day and night to make the clothes. This filial piety was really touching. In this comparison, although the Tianshan snow ginseng given by Princess Shi was expensive, it was clearly not as thoughtful as the ninth Miss. The old princess looked at Yun Chujio with love and affection. Grandmother likes this birthday gift of little Gio very much, but you are not in good health, so don't work too hard in the future. Yun Chujio's small face instantly blushed, and it could be seen that she was very excited. Her eyes were slightly red. As long as grandmother likes it, little Gio is too happy. Seeing this, the old imperial consort was even more moved in her heart. This child was really pure and filial. She had misunderstood her previously. If your body isn't good, then don't stand. Quickly find a place to sit down. Yun Chujio said timidly, Grandmother, I'm not tired. I want to stand behind you and serve you. I want to be closer to you, okay? Seeing Yun Chujio's longing and somewhat apprehensive gaze, the old imperial consort's heart instantly trembled. Although Yun Chujio's appearance resembled the Yi family, she could faintly see Yun Fengjin's shadow. The old imperial consort thought of her second son, whose fate was unknown, and her heart instantly softened. Come over. Someone add a chair behind me and let little Gio sit behind me. Yun Chujio immediately smiled brightly. Her bright and beautiful smile instantly made people feel that the entire hall seemed to brighten up a bit. She walked to the old imperial consort's side, she hugged the old imperial consort's arm and said, Thank you, grandmother. Grandmother, you are the best grandmother in the world. The old consort lightly rebuked, you're quite a big girl. What kind of manners are you wearing? Although the old consort said so, she did not break free from Yun Chujio's embrace. It was not until G-Mama got someone to bring a chair over that Yun Chujio finally let go of the old consort's arm. Zheng Shi was so angry that she almost fainted. This old fool. His eyelids were too shallow. A piece of tattered clothes was bought over? He actually let that cheap bastard sit behind her. Didn't this mean that among the younger generation of the Yun family, that cheap bastard had the highest status? This was a slap to Shiyu's face. Princess Shiyu tried her best to appear elegant and generous, but she felt that everyone was mocking her for being inferior to a country bumpkin from a low-grade continent. His Highness the Crown Prince has arrived. His Highness the Second Prince has arrived. His Highness the Third Prince has arrived. His Highness the Fourth Prince has arrived. His Highness the Fifth Prince has arrived. Everyone immediately stood up. The old imperial consort of the Yun imperial residence was indeed very honorable. The Crown Prince and the four princes had actually come personally to celebrate their birthday. Pan de N0, V1 Yun Chujio blinked her eyes and obediently stood up from the chair behind the old imperial consort. Then she stood beside G-Mama. She knew that damned Crown Prince, Lung Tianche, didn't like her, so it was better not to let him catch her in the act. Yun Chujio's gaze fell on the four princes who were half a step behind. They were all quite good-looking and looked like brothers. However, the royal family did not have any real family ties. They were probably thinking of taking down Lung Tianche so that they could replace him. Lung Tianche exchanged some pleasantries with the four princes and then presented a birthday gift. Naturally, they were all valuable things. Princess Shiyu's smile grew wider when she saw that the Crown Prince had arrived. Even if that bitch really had the green eyes of an old fart, it would be useless. As long as she became the Crown Prince's consort, even that old fart would have to listen to her. Everyone chatted for a while without feeling awkward. Fifth Prince Lung Tianhong's gaze fell on He Xinjiu, who was pretending to be a mushroom. He asked with a smile, "Old consort, is the person standing behind you the ninth young miss who just returned to the residence?" The old princess wanted to praise Yun Chujio, so she said with a smile, "Little ninth girl, why don't you go and greet the Crown Prince and the other princes?" He Xinjiu could only walk to Lung Tianche and the other princes meekly and bowed. Yun Chujio pays her respects to the other princes. The Crown Prince snorted, but the fifth prince said with a smile, "Ninth young miss, you don't have to be so polite. I heard that ninth young miss is not in good health. It's too tiring to stand here. Please sit by my side." Yun Chujio could see that the fifth prince had an ulterior motive from his smile. She lowered her head and said, "Thank you, fifth prince, but I have to serve grandmother." Before Yun Chujio could say anything, she heard the old consort say, "Little ninth girl, since the fifth prince wants you to sit, you can sit there." Yun Chujio, He Xinjiu had no choice but to sit by the fifth prince's side reluctantly. The fifth prince asked her if she was thirsty and also asked her about her body. In short, he was very attentive. There must be something wrong with the matter. Yun Chujio really could not understand what the fifth prince wanted from her, so she only answered perfunctorily. When she really did not want to talk, she would cough a few times. In any case, her body was not good. No one could find anything out. Princess Shiyu saw that Yun Chujio actually caught the fifth prince's eye, and her heart became even more jealous. The fifth prince was the most handsome man in East Phoenix country, and his words were humorous. It was a pity that he could not inherit the throne. Otherwise she would definitely choose the fifth prince. However, the fifth prince would not really like that bastard. It was probably just a temporary novelty. After all, no one would marry such a good-for-nothing country bumpkin who did not live long. Moreover, there were many girls in city who admired the fifth prince. This country bumpkin would have a hard time. Yun Chujio, Sister Shiyu played a piece earlier. The music was melodious and it made people feel like they were there. "What talents do you have? Why don't you show us?" a sharp voice said. Yun Chujio raised her head and saw that the person who spoke was a woman in a light yellow dress. The way she looked at her was full of malice. Yun Chujio narrowed her eyes. Who was this little bitch? A faint smile appeared on Yun Chujio's face. "Excuse me, may I ask who you are? Judging from your age, you should be much older than me. Could it be that you are my elder?" The fifth prince spat out a mouthful of tea. The woman in yellow was so angry that her face turned red. This damn bitch must have done it on purpose. She was obviously about the same age as her, but she deliberately said that she was older. Wasn't that just beating around the bush to say that she was old? It was really detestable. Princess Shiyu said gently, "Ninth sister, this is my uncle's cousin Shuang. She is 1 or 2 years older than you. You can just call her sister." Yun Chujio made a long own sound and then said, "So it's Sister Shuang. I'm really sorry. The main thing is that you're wearing too old-fashioned clothes today. I really thought you were my elder." Jing Shuang was furious. She was wearing the latest style of clothing. How was she old-fashioned? This damn country bumpkin must have done it on purpose. Zheng Shuang gritted her teeth. "Yun Chujio, do you have any talent to show off? Don't tell me you don't know any talent?" Yun Chujio glanced at her and then curled the corners of her lips. "Congratulations, you got it right. I really don't know any talent. If you do, then show it off. No one will stop you." Zheng Shuang, everyone, she was probably the only one who could say that she didn't know anything so confidently, right? This Yun Chujio was really, different from the rest. Zheng Shuang's face flushed red. She never thought that Yun Chujio would answer like this. She didn't know what to say for a moment, so she was stunned on the spot. Princess Shiyu had no choice but to help her out. "Cousin Shuang, Sister Jiu is different from us. It's normal that she doesn't know music, chess, calligraphy, and painting. After all, she did not grow up in our towering sky continent." By saying this, Princess Shiyu not only helped Zheng Shuang out of her predicament, but also belittled Yun Chujio. Moreover, she had isolated Yun Chujio from the social circle of the young ladies. It was simply killing multiple birds with one stone. A glimmer of light flashed across Yun Chujio's eyes. This white lotus was really difficult to deal with. Unfortunately, she had met her little black lotus, Xiaohei. Yun Chujio coughed violently a few times and then looked at Princess Shiyu with red eyes. "Third sister, you really didn't treat me as your sister. I'm not a fool. What you said just now means that I'm not worthy of being your sister, right? Do you think that I don't want to learn music, chess, calligraphy, and painting? Do you think that I don't want to be multi-talented? But my parents aren't by my side. I'm living in fear and treading on thin ice. I've cultivated to such a level in the continent with little spiritual power. I don't think I have anything to be ashamed of. You don't want to be my sister. I don't want it either." Panda N0V1 Yun Chujio's voice choked at the end of her sentence. Tears welled up in her eyes, but she raised her head and held back her tears. She looked sad and stubborn. The old princess placed the teacup heavily on the table. Although she did not say anything, she looked at Princess Shiyu with reproach in her eyes. It was obvious that she was very dissatisfied with her. Many people in the hall also cast a mocking look at her. This Princess Shiyu usually had a virtuous and elegant appearance, but who would have thought that it was all an act? Ninth Miss was so pitiful, yet she still added insult to injury. This was really too much. Princess Shiyu's face flushed red. She could only say embarrassedly, "Ninth sister, I didn't mean that. I just think that it's understandable that you don't know any talent." Yun Chujio lowered her head and said sullenly, "Third sister, you don't have to say it. I understand. You are a high and mighty princess, and I am a poor little girl who doesn't have long to live. Whatever you say is fine." After Yun Chujio finished speaking, her body trembled slightly. It perfectly described a poor little white lotus. Unfortunately, no one knew that the heart of this little white lotus was black. It was so black that it was extremely tragic. Princess Shiyu was so embarrassed that she didn't know what to say. Her face alternated between red and white, as if everything she said now was wrong. At this moment, the crown prince said coldly, "Since you know your identity, you must abide by your duty in the future and don't do anything that is sensational." Everyone was stunned. They naturally understood that the crown prince's words were directed at Yun Chujio. It seemed that the crown prince really hated this Yun Chujio. That was true. Princess Shiyu was the future imperial consort of the crown prince, so the crown prince naturally had to speak up for her. Yun Chujio's heart was like a mutt. How did she offend this damn crown prince? "Fuck, if you act pretentiously you'll be struck by lightning. Just you wait." Boom. A bolt of lightning struck the roof of the hall. Everyone was shocked. Why was there lightning all of a sudden? Hei Shinjio was also shocked. How did her jinx skill become more and more effective ever since she came to Towering Sky Continent? In order to test it out, this guy silently thought that he would be struck by lightning for acting cool. He would be struck to death by that tortoise son of a bitch, the crown prince. He would be struck to death by Princess Shiyu, little bitch. Unfortunately, even after repeating it dozens of times, he still could not draw out the heavenly thunder again. Shinjo was puzzled. What was the reason for this crow's mouth skill to be effective at times? It was definitely not a limit that could only be used once a day. This was because in the Dark Continent, there was once a day when it was effective twice. What exactly was going on? Shinjo lowered her head and pondered about the crow's mouth. In the eyes of everyone, it was because she had suffered a great blow because of the crown prince's words. She could not help but feel a little sympathy in her heart. People were so strange. Sometimes they would add insult to injury and sometimes they would sympathize with the weak. It was possible that Zinjia's little white lotus was too accurate. So many people more or less sympathized with her. Princess Shiyu, on the other hand, was very pleased. No matter how much Yun Chuju jumped around, she was just a clown. As long as the crown prince said something, wouldn't she be honest now? The old princess couldn't bear it, so she ordered, "Let's start the banquet." When the banquet was served, the fifth prince suddenly realized that the little girl beside him, who had been drooping her head, suddenly became energetic. Her eyes were sparkling as she stared at the dishes that were constantly being served. Although Yun Chujia's table only had the crown prince for princes and her 6 people, the dishes were the most sumptuous. Shinjo immediately forgot about the jinx skill. Although this fellow really wanted to feast, she still knew the rules. When the crown prince moved his chopsticks, she began to eat happily. The 5th prince and the others looked at Yun Chujio in surprise. Which young lady did not eat in a reserved and elegant manner? This person was very good. She ate whichever plate she wanted at an extremely fast speed, but there was nothing wrong with her etiquette. In the end, the 5th prince and the others simply put down their chopsticks and stared at Shinjo eating and drinking alone. If it was an ordinary lady, she would have felt uncomfortable being stared at by a few men. However, Shinjo did not care so much. In her eyes, this crown prince and prince were similar to cabbages. It was fine if they did not provoke her. If they provoked her, they would be killed sooner or later. The crown prince curled his lips. How rude. It seemed that the imperial preceptor must have made a huge mistake this time. Just as the crown prince was thinking, a distant bell rang from outside. Everyone in the hall turned pale with fright. This bell was the sound of the twilight bell of the divine hall. And Qing had an unwritten rule. As long as the twilight bell rang, it would be the signal for the imperial preceptor to summon them. The officials of the East Phoenix Kingdom and their families in Qing had to rush to the temple as fast as possible. Shinjo was enjoying her meal when she saw the crown prince and the 4 princes jump out of the hall as if they were being chased by dogs. Then the old royal highness, the old princess consort, and the others also rushed out of the hall. In the end, only she and some servants were left in the hall. Shinjo was stunned for a moment. She felt that these people's strange behavior was most likely related to the bell just now, so she couldn't be bothered. Anyway, these servants didn't leave, which meant that it wasn't something that could cause the world to collapse. She eats her food. Those servants looked at Shinjo, who was eating like a monster. Xihua and Xishui walked to her side and reminded her in a low voice, "Miss Jiu, the bell just now sounded from the twilight bell of the temple. I guess the national master has something important to announce. Won't you go and have a look?" Yun Chujio waved her hand. "I am a low-level mainland to the little waste to go or not, what does it matter? Are you hungry? Come, sit down to eat." "Oh right, and you guys, you've been busy for a long time. If you don't waste these dishes, sit down and eat together. I'm afraid they won't be back for a while. After you finish eating, clean up the things. They won't notice." No one dared to sit down and eat. Although King Yun and the others were not here, the butler was still here. If they were caught, it would be terrible. Shinjo did not care about them. After eating and drinking, she put all the food on the table into her storage ring. The crown prince and the others did not eat anything anyway. She ate the leftovers herself. Shinjo burped and was weakly supported away by Xihua and Xishui. The servants of the Cloud Mansion looked at each other. This 9th miss was not in good health, but her appetite was big enough and she even packed it? She must have suffered a lot in the past and was afraid of being hungry, right? This 9th miss was really pitiful. Shinjo was supported by Xihua and Xishui. She muttered softly, "Io, your miss is not pretending this time. I'm stuffed to death." Oh. The corners of Xihua and Xishui's eyes twitched violently. This was too useless. It was fine as long as she was full, but she was already so full. The two of them helped Hei Xinjiu out of the room and saw Ji Mama chasing after her in a hurry. Miss Jiu, the old consort just sent a message to me, asking you to go to the temple immediately, PN0V1 com Hei Xinjiu burped. Ask me to go to the temple? I'm just a piece of trash. What do you want me to do? Ji Mama's mouth twitched. Her spiritual power was low, but she was not ashamed of it. Instead she was proud of it. What a weirdo. I don't know the reason either, but the old madam wants you to go there immediately. Shihua Shui, you go with Miss Jiu to the Divine Hall immediately. If you go late, be careful of your little lives, Ji Mama said sternly. Yun Chujio pouted. She knew that Ji Mama could not directly order her, so she took a detour to remind her to go quickly. Shihua and Shui did not dare to delay. They almost carried Yun Chujio out of the Yun mansion in a hurry. After the two of them summoned their wildebeest, they saw Hei Xinjiu slowly summon a big rabbit. The two of them then remembered that they had heard someone say that their ninth miss had come to the city on a rabbit. The two of them did not have time to talk nonsense. They pointed in a direction and urged Yun Chujio to hurry up. Burp, burp, no, I'm too full. I can't leave too quickly. Let's go for a stroll. Don't worry, one more is not much, one less is not little. Hei Xinjiu said while burping. Shihua and Shui were sweating profusely, but they didn't dare to do anything to Yun Chujio. They could only stare at her anxiously. After about 15 minutes, Ji Mama rode on her wildebeest and caught up with them. She took a deep breath and said, Miss Jiu, the state preceptor and all the ministers are waiting for you alone. If you don't leave soon, the old princess will expel you from the Yun family. Hei Xinjiu looked confused. They are all waiting for me? They are all waiting for a good-for-nothing like me? Tiske, I didn't expect that I was so important. Ji Mama was so angry that she gritted her teeth. You are focusing on the wrong thing, okay? Ji Mama was about to drag Yun Chujio to the top of the horned horse when she saw the big rabbit leap out with a whoosh. Hei Xinjiu's anxious voice came from the front. Since I'm so important, don't dawdle. Come back if you have something to say. Let's go. Ji Mama, it's you who dawdled, alright? You fucking know how to be anxious now. Hei Xinjiu was puzzled. They were all waiting for her? She was just a little trash from a low-level continent. Why were they all waiting for her? Could it be that something bad was going to happen again? Whether it was a blessing or a curse, a disaster could not be avoided. Regardless of whether it was a good thing or a bad thing, they had to go and take a look. Soon, the four of them arrived at the Divine Hall of the East Phoenix country. The Divine Hall was magnificent and had a mysterious and ancient charm. Hei Xinjiu had always been uninterested in those who pretended to be mysterious. She curled her lips slightly. In her opinion, the so-called imperial preceptor was nothing more than a fraud. Only the fools of the East Phoenix country would believe it. There were guards outside the Divine Hall. Ji Mama and two maids were stopped by the guards and allowed Yun Chujio to enter alone. Yun Chujio stepped into the Divine Hall and a maid immediately came to lead her to the altar. Yun Chujio blinked her eyes and asked in a low voice, Sister Maid, there are maids in the Divine Hall? I thought everything would be fine as long as the imperial preceptor chanted a spell every day. The corner of the maid's eyes twitched and she ignored Hei Xinjiu. Hei Xinjiu was not embarrassed and asked again, Sister Maid, are they really waiting for me? Is it so important for a little trash like me? The maid staggered. She was obviously confused by Hei Xinjiu's proud tone of calling herself a little trash, but she still did not say anything. Seeing this, Yun Chujio did not ask any more questions. It seemed that the imperial preceptor was really good at managing the servants. Each and every one of them was like a gourd that had its mouth cut off. Soon Yun Chujio was brought to the altar. At the front was a 9-story altar. The white and smooth surface was emitting a cold light. There was a man dressed in white standing in front of the altar. There was a coldness in his bones, causing people to unconsciously feel reverence. Of course, Hei Xinjiu was not one of these people. Hei Xinjiu glanced at him. This national advisor was a middle-aged beautiful uncle, but she did not know if it was because he had no desires or was pretending to be cold. There were many people standing in the square. At the very front stood a middle-aged man dressed in a dragon robe, and beside him stood a middle-aged woman wearing a phoenix coronet and a veil. She must be the emperor and empress of East Phoenix country. Behind her stood the crown prince and then the prince. Yun Chujio's heart skipped a beat. It seemed that something big had happened and she had to come here. It couldn't be related to her, right? At this moment, everyone's eyes were focused on Hei Xinjiu. Hei Shinjio coughed a few times and looked at the old imperial consort timidly, looking at her at a loss. When Hei Shinjio was dressed as Little Lotus, she heard the state preceptor say in a cold voice, "Miss Yunjio, since you're late, you can be the sacrifice today." Yun Chujio. Damn it. That's not how it works. Sacrifice? Wouldn't she be dead? She still had a lot of things to do. She still had to give birth to a monkey for the pretty boy. She still had to save her mother. She was still looking for her father. Was she going to die just like that? Hei Shinjio knew that she definitely couldn't run away now. After all, her spiritual power was weak compared to these people. There was no chance of escaping at all. The damn Great Void Mirror was still in hibernation. Otherwise she could hide inside the Great Void Mirror. What should she do now? Just as Hei Shinjio was burning with anxiety, she realized that many women were looking at her with jealousy and indignation in their eyes. Hei Shinjio was dumbfounded. Are these people sick? Do they all want to be sacrificed? Are they all so aware that they would rather sacrifice their lives for the so-called nonsense? Just as Hei Shinjio was in a daze, a maid from the Divine Hall came over. "Miss Yunjio, please follow me." Hei Shinjio secretly gritted her teeth. She could only take it one step at a time. If she really could not do it, she would think of a way to kidnap the National Master. Fuck, there would be a place for her if she did not leave the Master here. After all, she could not die. Yun Chujio followed the maid to the bottom of the altar. This fellow was pondering in his heart. Was he going to burn her to death or chop off her head? Just as Hei Shinjio was thinking, she saw the National Master's hair flying in the air. He was mumbling to himself, and the top of the 9th floor altar was burning. Everyone was kneeling on the ground devoutly. Only Hei Shinjio was staring at the 9th floor altar with blinking eyes. This big-hearted guy was thinking, "Pooey? He's playing tricks. There must be a formation inside the altar," which was why it was burning with his so-called incantation. This fellow finally thought of something serious. It was highly likely that he would throw her into the altar and burn her. Fortunately, she had the fire-repelling pearl, so it would not burn her to death. At that time, she could make up a lie, such as a warning from the heavens. In any case, these people of the East Phoenix Kingdom were very superstitious. Perhaps she could kick out the National Master and replace him. Just as Hei Shinjio was thinking of a good thing, she saw the National Master walking towards her. The Grand Tutor said in a cold voice, "Miss Yunjio, since you have become the sacrifice, you are the Grand Tutor's disciple. You must be by the Grand Tutor's side from now on." Hei Shinjio, the so-called sacrifice was actually like this? Not dead? Many of the women kneeling below looked at Hei Shinjio with eyes full of naked envy, jealousy, and hatred. They wished they could replace her. All the women in the East Feng Kingdom dreamed of becoming the Imperial Tutor's disciple. Although they said they were his disciples, they were actually his partners. To be able to become the Imperial Tutor's woman, heavens, just thinking about it made them so happy. The Imperial Tutor's woman was more honorable than any empress or princess. They did not expect that this damn country bumpkin would actually be chosen by the Imperial Tutor. They were really lucky. Princess Shiyu's eyes were filled with jealousy. If it was possible, she would rather be the Imperial Tutor's woman than be the Crown Prince's concubine. Although the Crown Prince was not bad, compared to the Imperial Tutor, he was like a bright moon in the sky and a candle on the ground. There was no comparison at all. Concubine Yun Jingshi gently tugged at Princess Shiyu's sleeve. Only then did Princess Shiyu put away the ferocious look on her face. She was a little scared. Fortunately, the Crown Prince was kneeling in front of her. Otherwise, it would be terrible if he saw her. In the silence, Hei Shinjio coughed a few times. "Imperial Preceptor, I want to ask, what does it mean to be inseparable? As a disciple, do you still need to accompany and sleep?" Everyone looked at Hei Shinjio, especially some of the girls. Their eyes were about to spit fire. Shameless. He actually asked such a question in public. How badly did you want to sleep with the National Master? The National Master's expression was normal as he said indifferently, "Since we are inseparable, we naturally have to sleep with each other." Yun Chujia's heart was like a dog that was bickering, fuck. This bullshit state preceptor looked like a human dog. He was already old enough to be her father, yet he still wanted to take advantage of her? Shameless. Yun Chujio violently coughed a few times. "State Preceptor, I'm sorry, I'm afraid I can't accompany and sleep with you. I haven't come to Kueishue yet. So, do you have any other choice?" Everyone was shocked. This Yun Chujio actually wanted to reject the imperial preceptor? Didn't she know that becoming the imperial preceptor's disciple was the dream of all the women in East Phoenix country? Didn't she know that as long as she became the imperial preceptor's disciple, she could fly up to the branches and become a phoenix? Had her head been kicked by a demon beast? Oh right, she came from a low-grade continent, so she didn't know what kind of glory it was to become the imperial preceptor's disciple. Ah, she really deserved it. If this country bumpkin knew the truth in the future, he would definitely regret it so much that he would vomit blood. The old imperial concubine was so anxious that she wished she could scold Yun Chujio awake. This silly girl. What was the big deal about Kue Shui not coming? The imperial tutor was very resourceful. It would be fine if he helped you to recuperate. He was really anxious to death. The imperial tutor looked at Yun Chujio meaningfully. There is another option, that is to walk into the altar and sacrifice yourself to the divine phoenix. Yun Chujio's face twitched. Isn't there a third option? No. The kneeling woman revealed a regretful expression. Was over. This country bumpkin would definitely not choose to offer herself as a sacrifice to the divine phoenix. In the end, it would be too easy for her. National Master, what do you mean by offering yourself as a sacrifice to the divine phoenix? After you enter the altar, you will be burned by a raging fire until you turn into ashes. Your body and soul will be offered as a sacrifice to the divine phoenix of our East Phoenix country, the National Master said coldly. What if the divine phoenix doesn't want me to die and doesn't accept me? Do I have to stay in the fire forever? Hei Shinjio blinked her eyes and asked. The people below curled their lips. This Yun Chujio was really shameless. The divine phoenix didn't want her to die. Who did she think she was? The imperial preceptor's tone didn't change much. If you are still alive after 3 days, you can be exempted from your identity as a sacrifice. Yun Chujio's face revealed a look of despair. After a long while, she asked dryly, State Preceptor, why did you choose me as a sacrifice? Is it because I'm as beautiful as a flower? The State Preceptor, the women below all wished they could spit on Yun Chujio's face. Shameless. They had never seen such a shameless person. However, they were also very curious. Why did the State Preceptor choose this country bumpkin? Was it really because of her beauty? The National Master was silent for a while, and then said indifferently, because the heavens have shown that the woman who came the latest today is my disciple. Hearing this, Yun Chujio looked at the old consort with resentment. It was all the fault of this white-eyed old lady. Why did she call her here for no reason? The old consort saw Yun Chujio's resentful eyes and was so angry that she was twitching. You stupid girl, becoming the National Master's disciple is a great thing. Moreover, she didn't have to call Hei Shinjio over. It was the imperial tutor himself who suggested that all the dignitaries must be present. That was why she called Hei Shinjio over. Yun Chujio gritted her teeth and stomped her foot. Blushing, she said, Imperial tutor, to tell you the truth, I already have someone in mind. Although we are not married, we have touched everything that we should and shouldn't touch. Therefore, I don't have the face to become your disciple. I choose to sacrifice myself to the divine phoenix. Imperial tutor, everyone, the old princess almost fainted. Was over. Little Gio would never be able to get married in this lifetime. Hei Shinjio thought to herself, this is called getting it over with once and for all, so as to prevent anyone from having designs on her again. Let's see who would still dare to marry her. Otherwise, when she safely came out of the altar, it would be terrible if this shameless state preceptor had designs on her again. The National Master said with a stiff face, in that case you can go up to the altar. Hei Shinjio wiped her tears and walked to the old royal highness and the old consort. Grandfather, grandmother, little Gio is unfilial. She is going to sacrifice herself to the divine phoenix even though she hasn't done her filial duty yet. Just pretend that I'm not your granddaughter. The old royal highness frowned and didn't say anything. However, the old consort lowered her voice and said, Little Gio, it seems that the National Master doesn't dislike you. Just be his disciple. Be obedient. Yun Chujio thought to herself, damn it, I despise him. Old ox still wants to eat young grass. Bah. She did not know how many girls this fraud had ruined with this method. Sooner or later he would expose his true colors. Although Yun Chujio was cursing in her heart, her face revealed a hint of determination. Grandmother, I am in love with that person. I will not do anything to let him down, so I would rather sacrifice myself to the divine phoenix. The old imperial consort was about to persuade her again, But Zheng Shi said from the side, "Mother, it is the honor of the Yun imperial residence to be able to sacrifice myself to the divine phoenix. Don't say any more." Although the old imperial consort was unhappy, she knew that Zheng Shi was right. If the emperor was unhappy with the Yun imperial residence, it would be bad. "First aunt, since you speak so righteously, then let third sister become the imperial tutor's disciple. Anyway, we are all the Yun family's daughters, so it doesn't matter who goes." "Third sister, are you willing to become the imperial preceptor's disciple?" Yun Chujio looked at Princess Shiyu with a smile. Princess Shiyu's face instantly turned red. She was naturally willing, but she wasn't stupid enough to say it out loud, so she said hesitantly, "Ninth sister, this isn't child's play, don't talk nonsense." Yun Chujio shrugged her shoulders, turned around and asked the imperial preceptor, "Imperial preceptor, my third sister said that she is willing to replace me, take her as your disciple." Princess Shiyu almost fainted from anger. When did she say such a thing? Princess Shiyu shook her head repeatedly. "No, I didn't say it. Imperial preceptor, I didn't say it." The imperial preceptor looked at Princess Shiyu indifferently. "What? Princess Shiyu is also unwilling to become my disciple? Could it be that the Yun residence is dissatisfied with me?" Princess Shiyu hated Yun Chujio to death. The imperial tutor might not want to accept her as his disciple, but if she said she was willing, she would offend the crown prince. If she said she wasn't willing, the imperial tutor might fly into a rage. It was a dilemma. Princess Shiyu's face was flushed red. She was in a dilemma and didn't know how to answer when the imperial tutor said, "Miss Yunjio, the time is up. Enter the altar." Yun Chujio pouted. She knew that she could not drag it out. She could only hug the old princess consort and then walk to the altar with a slight tremble. The old princess consort's heart was about to be broken by He Xinjia's hug. Although she hated this granddaughter before today, she did not know why. At this moment, seeing her go to her death, her heart felt like it was being cut by a knife. She could not help but cry. The old royal highness' brows were tightly knitted. He patted the old consort's hand. He did not feel good, but what could he do? This little ninth girl was as stubborn as her father and mother. She clearly did not need to die, but she would rather choose to die than betray her beloved. He did not know whether he should say that she was stupid or one-track minded. However, at this moment, the old prince felt that this little ninth girl had some of the pride that the Yun family's younger generation lacked. Unfortunately, she did not have a good life and was about to be destroyed. The old prince did not have the slightest thought of going against the imperial preceptor. In the East Phoenix Kingdom, the imperial preceptor was a god. Even the emperor had to listen to the imperial preceptor's arrangements. If there was no imperial preceptor, the East Phoenix Kingdom would definitely be annexed by the other three kingdoms and would soon be destroyed. If He Xinjio knew what the old prince and the others were thinking, she would probably roll on the ground with laughter. These people actually placed their fate on a fraud. It was simply hilarious. Everyone's gaze fell on Yun Chujio, who was walking towards the first level of the altar. Her delicate body was slightly trembling and she coughed a few times from time to time. However, her footsteps did not stop at all. The national master said indifferently, "Miss Yunjio, it's still not too late for you to go back on your words." Yun Chujio did not even turn her head. "I, Yun Chujio, have never gone back on my words. Moreover, I am a beautiful woman who is loyal to love. I believe that the divine phoenix will take care of me." The corners of everyone's eyes twitched. This guy was really shameless. However, she was going to turn into ashes very soon. She could show off before she died. At this moment, Yun Chujio finally reached the first level of the altar. The expected screams didn't come. Everyone guessed that this country bumpkin might have a defensive spiritual artifact or even an immortal artifact, so she was fine for the time being. However, the fire on the altar was not an ordinary fire. She couldn't last long. 15 minutes passed and an hour passed. He Xinjio was tired from standing, so she sat in the fire. "State preceptor, the fire on the first floor might not be too strong. How about I climb a few more floors?" He Xinjio waved her white claws and said, "Everyone, was this country bumpkin crazy? No one had ever been so eager to die." The old royal highness and the old princess were almost beating their chests and stomping their feet. Was this little Jill crazy? The state preceptor was very calm. "Suit yourself." Therefore, He Xinjio continued to climb up and directly sat on the 9th level of the altar. This fellow looked at the people below with satisfaction. Tsk, this feeling of looking down was really satisfying. Very soon the sky turned dark. Yunchujo was still alive and kicking. Everyone's hearts began to beat a little. Could it be that the divine phoenix really wasn't prepared to accept this country bumpkin? However, most people thought that the country bumpkin had a defensive immortal artifact on her, so she was not burned to death. However, she could not last for 3 days. She would definitely be burned to death. The Emperor of the East Phoenix Kingdom, Saint Martial Emperor, looked at Hei Shinjio in the flames with a complicated expression. He raised his head and looked at the state preceptor. The state preceptor's eyes were deep and he nodded slightly. Emperor Shengwa's expression was both worried and happy. He once again looked at Hei Shinjio in the flames. The national master did not say anything, so everyone could only wait here for the final result. Someone exclaimed slightly, that Yun Chujio has fallen. Could she have been burned to death? Everyone raised their heads and looked. Indeed, Hei Shinjio, who had been sitting and showing off, had fallen into the flames. Could she really be dead? Everyone thought that Yun Chujio had already been burned to death, but after waiting for a long time, they still did not see her corpse turn into ashes. What was going on? Finally, someone guessed in disbelief, could she have fallen asleep? Everyone, fuck. How could it be so frustrating? How was it possible? Not only did this guy not burn to death, but he even fell asleep? Although everyone did not believe it, they could only accept reality when they saw a young girl jumping around the next morning. It seemed that Divine Phoenix really did not want to burn this country bumpkin to death. Yun Chujio covered her face with her sleeve and munched on a few meat buns. Then she accidentally burped. Everyone turned to look at Hei Shinjio. Hei Shinjio said innocently, "Sai, I've been hungry for an entire night. Why are you still burping? How strange." Everyone, can't you wipe the oil off your mouth before you lie? How unreasonable. They were so hungry that their chests were sticking to their backs. Yet she was actually able to hold on until she burped. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. After much thought, Hei Shinjio decided to cancel the words that she had intended to deceive everyone. She did not know much about the East Phoenix Kingdom and the Divine Phoenix now. If the fabricated story was flawed, it might backfire. It was better to be safe than sorry. When the time came, the flames on the altar were immediately extinguished. Hei Shinjio, who was standing on the 9-story altar, weakly walked down from the altar. The national master did not make things difficult for her. He said coldly, "Miss Yunjio, since the Divine Phoenix did not take you in, your status as an offering can be cancelled. Everyone please disperse." Pa N Dan 0ve1. C0M Yun Chujio bowed and staggered into the old consort's arms. "Grandmother, am not dead. That's great. I can be filial to you and grandfather in the future." The old imperial consort's eyes reddened and she patted her back. "It's good that you're fine. Let's go home." Princess Shiyu clenched her fists tightly under her sleeves. This bitch was really lucky. Not only was she not dead, but she had also gained the old man's favor. It was really detestable. Jing Shi glanced at her. Princess Shiyu restrained her expression and followed Jing Shi out of the divine hall. After everyone had left, only the Imperial Preceptor and Saint Martial Emperor were left on the altar. Imperial Preceptor, it seems that the prophecy has come true. It seems that the disaster of the East Phoenix country is about to arrive, Saint Martial Emperor said with a sigh. Imperial Preceptor also sighed slightly. Your Majesty, there's no need to be so worried. Yun Chujio is a variable. Perhaps she can defy the heavens and change her fate, saving the East Phoenix country from fire and water. Saint Martial Emperor frowned. Imperial Preceptor, although the prophecy says so, can a little girl from a low-level continent really save the East Phoenix Kingdom? Imperial Preceptor smiled. Since she has fulfilled the prophecy, then she is the master of the Divine Phoenix. She naturally has the ability to turn the universe around. However, Your Majesty, this is a heavenly secret that cannot be revealed. You should not interfere in the matters of the Cloud Mansion. Since she is the master of the Divine Phoenix, she will naturally be able to resolve all dangers. Saint Martial Emperor nodded. Although he still felt that it was inconceivable that the master of the Divine Phoenix was such a useless little girl, since she had not been burned to death by the raging flames for 3 days and 3 nights, it was not certain that she could really turn the tides. Saint Martial Emperor chatted with the Imperial Preceptor for a while more before leaving. The Imperial Preceptor took out a yellowish sheepskin scroll from his storage ring. On it were a few words circled in cinnabar. voluntary sacrifice, the raging flames will not perish, the master of the divine phoenix turning the tides. After Hei Shinjio helped the old princess out of the divine hall, everyone called out their wildebeest and left. Hei Shinjio called out the big rabbit under the surprised gazes of the old princess and the old prince. Then she giggled. My rabbit runs no slower than a wildebeest and it can jump over obstacles. Grandmother, do you want to try? The old consort shook her head like a rattledrum. She was an old lady riding a rabbit all over the street. Stop joking. Before Hei Shinjio and the others arrived at the Yin mansion, the rumors had already spread. In short, there were only 3 points. First, Yun Chujio had unreasonably refused to be the Grand Tutor's disciple. She was simply out of her mind. Second, Yun Chujio was a shameless person. She actually engaged with a man privately and even did something outrageous. Thirdly, because she was too useless and did not love herself, even the divine phoenix despised her. That was why they did not accept her as a sacrifice. After hearing the rumors from Xihua, Yun Chujio smiled indifferently. It was for the best so that no one would have designs on her. However, what did the national master mean? Could it be that he rang the Muqin bell to find a female disciple to accompany and sleep with? Thinking of this, Hei Shinjio asked, Xihua, did the national master ring the Muqin bell for no reason and then find a female disciple to accompany him and sleep with? Xihua looked at Yun Chujio in confusion and asked in disbelief, Miss Jiu, why do you think so? Xihua revealed an expression of disappointment. Miss Jiu, although many women want to be the national master's disciple, the national master has never agreed to it. This time he was the one who took the initiative to take in a disciple, but you actually rejected it. So, ninth miss, do you know that all the women in the East Phoenix country want to be the Grand Tutor's disciple? As long as you become the Grand Tutor's disciple, not to mention the princess consort, even the empress would not dare to provoke you. Yun Chujio was stunned. So she had misunderstood the Grand Tutor? So it was not a repeat offender, this was the first time? But no matter what, that old cow of his would not be able to eat this delicate young grass like her. This fellow had a big heart. She felt that since she could not figure it out, then she would not think about it anymore. It was better for her to cling tightly to the old consort and the old royal highness thighs now. Otherwise, those two little bastards, Jingshi and Princess Xiyu, would definitely harm her. Moreover, only by coaxing the white-eyed old lady to be happy could she find out where her mother had been sent and then think of a way to save her mother. Thus, this fellow either ran into the old princess courtyard or ran towards the old prince's study. When this fellow went to the old prince's study for the first time, he was blocked outside. However, this fellow displayed his fearless and shameless spirit and went outside the old prince's study every morning to howl a few times, Grandfather, little Gio has come to grind ink for you. Grandfather, little Gio has sent you pastries. Grandfather, little Gio is here to give you spirit fruits. After Princess Xiyu heard this, she said with disdain, this country bumpkin thinks that grandfather can be moved with just a few good words? The study is an important place and she, a country bumpkin, wants to go in? Dream on. However, 5 days later, Princess Xiyu received the news that not only did Hei Shinjio enter the old prince's study, but she also obtained the old prince's acquiescence and could enter at any time in the future. Princess Xiyu was so angry that she smashed everything in the room into pieces. After Jingshi heard about it, she harshly reprimanded Princess Xiyu. Xiyu, you are someone who wants to be the crown prince's consort. How can you be so impatient? If the crown prince takes in a side consort in the future, wouldn't it be even more unbearable for you? Princess Shiyu's face revealed a vicious expression. If the crown prince takes in a side concubine, none of those bitches can think of anything good. Even if they give birth to a child, I will not let them grow up safely. Jingshi glared at her fiercely. Xiyu, this kind of words will rot in your stomach. Since you have chosen to be the crown prince's concubine, you must be mentally prepared. Princess Shiyu's face revealed a resentful expression. Can I only endure it? If I had known it would be like this, I would have agreed to the imperial preceptor today. Shut up. Jingshi was clearly really angry this time. Her expression was cold and ruthless like never before. Princess Xiyu shrunk her neck in fright. Mother, I was just saying. I was wrong. Jingshi's expression eased up a little. Xiyu, regardless of whether you truly like the crown prince or whether you are pretending, You have already come this far. You must not have any other thoughts. As for the future, there will always be a way. There are plenty of shady methods in the rear residence. Your priority now is to win the crown prince's favor and try to settle the marriage as soon as possible." Princess Shiyu nodded, then she said viciously, "Mother, I really don't like that bitch Yin Chujio. She has already offended the imperial tutor, and the emperor has no intention of protecting her. It's probably father's intention to bring her back. Let's kill her." Jing Shi recalled some things. Her face also became vicious. "You're right. The longer the night, the more dangerous it will be. That bitch is getting more and more doted on by those two old geezers. Who knows, one day they might coax them to bring Yishir back. We must send her on her way. I'll have Xihua poison her food and then kill Xihua to silence her. At that time, even if those two old farts knew that I poisoned her and she was already dead, they wouldn't be able to do anything about it." That night, Jing Shi found an excuse to call Xihua over. "If you mix this packet of medicinal powder into her food, you will definitely benefit from it. If you don't do it, then your parents and brother won't be able to live," Jing Shi said coldly. Xihua's body trembled as she took the packet of medicinal powder from Jing Shi. She left Jing Shi's courtyard in a daze. Xihua was in a daze. She did not want to kill Yin Chujio, but Jing Shi had the power to control the sky. What if she really wanted to kill her parents and younger brother? She knew that after she had drugged Yin Chujio, she would not be able to live. Not to mention that she had already eaten Yin Chujio's poison. Even Jing Shi would kill her to silence her. No matter what Xihua thought, there was no way she could survive. It did not matter if she died, but she did not want to implicate her family. Then would she poison Miss Jiu to death? Xihua gritted her teeth. "Miss Jiu, don't blame me. I have no choice. If you want to blame someone, blame your bad luck." The next day, Xihua went to the kitchen to get lunch. She went to a quiet place and sprinkled the medicine powder into the soup with trembling hands. Then she returned to the courtyard. "Yo, today's food smells better than usual," Hei Shinjio said while looking at the food on the table with a smile. Xihua's heart skipped a beat. She bit her lips and said stiffly, "Maybe it's because Miss Jiu is hungry?" Yun Chujio curled her lips, then she said indifferently, "I think I have something to tell you. I'm the easiest person to talk to, but if anyone betrays me, not only will I kill her, but I will also kill her family's dog." Xihua's legs gave way and she almost collapsed to the ground. P&D N0VE1. Calm. Although Yun Chujio's expression was indifferent, 11 Hua felt that it was even more frightening than Jing Shi's cold threat. She finally could not take it anymore and knelt on the ground with a plop. "Ninth Miss, please spare my life. Ninth Miss, please spare my life. I was forced by the princess. If I don't do as she says, she will kill my entire family. It doesn't matter if I die, but I can't just watch my parents and younger brother be killed by the princess." Shui was shocked and quickly knelt to the side. She could not help but feel a little sad. The children of her family were not as good as the orphans she bought. The lives of her parents and family were in the hands of her masters. She had no ability to resist. Yun Chujio glanced at Xihua. "I am not your proper master. Compared to your relatives, I am naturally the one who has been abandoned. Get up." Xihua could not believe her ears. Was it over just like that? Under normal circumstances, shouldn't she be handed over to the old princess and take her life? Which dish was poisoned? Yun Chujio asked faintly again. Xihua pointed at the bowl of soup on the table with a trembling finger. Only the soup was poisoned." Yun Chujio nodded. "Go find Jing Shi now and say that I suddenly became filial and brought the soup to the old madam. You didn't stop me." Xihua looked at Yun Chujio in disbelief. Miss Jiu, what are you going to do?" Yun Chujio glanced at her. "If you want to protect you and Zixu's family, you have to do as I say. Otherwise, do you think the Zheng family will spare your family if I die? You are too naive. You will get rid of the root of the problem. Not only will you and your family die, but Zixu's family will also die. Moreover, the crime is already done. It is you who poisoned me. No matter how bad I am still the miss of the Yin mansion. Naturally, your family will not be able to escape." Xihua was stunned at first, then her eyes widened in horror. The more she thought about it, the more frightened she became. The princess' methods were ruthless. She would definitely do as the ninth miss said. So what should she do now? While 11 Hua was stunned, Shui said to her, "Sister Xihua, now we can only listen to the ninth miss. In any case, we are all going to die. At least we don't have to bear the reputation of poisoning and killing our master. Shi Hua gritted her teeth and said to Yun Chujio, "Ninth Miss, as long as you can save the lives of me and Shi Shue's entire family, my life will belong to you from now on." Shi Shue nodded repeatedly at the side. They had no choice but to believe in this ninth miss in front of them. This ninth miss even took care of Zhang Mama and Manager Lu. She should be able to do it this time, right? To be honest, Shi Hua and Shi Shui were really uncertain. The imperial consort, Zheng Shi, could be said to be able to cover the sky with one hand. Even the old imperial consort would not easily go against her. Could the ninth miss do it? Yun Chujio slightly raised her eyebrows. "What use is it for me to take your life? What I want is your loyalty. This time, because your relatives were coerced, I will give you a chance. If there is a next time, I guarantee that there will not be a single living thing left in your house." Shi Hua and Shi Shui repeatedly agreed. They could clearly feel the murderous intent released by Yun Chujio. For some reason, they felt that this ninth miss was even more terrifying than the princess consort. Yun Chujio glanced at the two of them. "If you follow me, you may not have other abilities, but you must know how to put on an act. If you fail to put on an act today, you and your family will die. Do you understand?" Shi Hua and Shi Shui hurriedly nodded in agreement. They had followed He Xinjiu for a period of time, so they had learned a little about acting. Yun Chujio stood up and put the bowl of soup into her storage ring. Then she said, "All right, it'll take Shi Shui to see grandmother now. Shi Hua, you go and deliver the letter to your master now." Shi Hua nodded and rushed out of the courtyard. Shi Hua did not need to pretend at all because her forehead was covered in sweat. Her panicked look was exactly the same as the current situation. Shi Hua arrived outside Zheng Shi's courtyard. After a maid reported to her, she finally saw Zheng Shi. When Zheng Shi saw Shi Hua's appearance, she was delighted. She reckoned that Yun Chujio, that country bumpkin, had been poisoned to death. Otherwise Shi Hua would not be so terrified. This idiot could be used as a scapegoat. After she was beaten to death, the two old men would not be able to testify against her. Zheng Shi thought of this and said to Nanny Gao, who had just been promoted, "Shi Hua poisoned the ninth miss. Kill her with a cane." Shi Hua's heart sank. The ninth miss was right. Zheng Shi did not intend to let her off. At this moment, Shi Hua's heart was full of hatred for Zheng Shi. Thinking of Yun Chujio's acting, she suppressed the hatred in her heart and said with a trembling voice, "Princess, please spare my life. Princess, please spare my life. Ninth miss is not dead." Zheng Shi was stunned at first, then she angrily smashed the teacup on the table onto 11 Hua. "Since she is not dead, why did you come here?" "Princess, this servant spilled the medicine powder in the soup." But ninth miss must be crazy. She insisted that the soup smelled good today and wanted to give it to the old princess. "This servant didn't stop her, so I quickly came to report to you," Shi Hua said with a trembling voice. Zheng Shi suddenly stood up. What did you say? That bitch planted the poisonous soup and prepared to give it to the old princess?" Yes. "Princess, I couldn't stop her no matter how hard I tried. Moreover, she put the soup into her storage ring. Even if I wanted to knock over the soup bowl, I couldn't do anything. Please think of something," Shi Hua said while kowtowing. Zheng Shi was so angry that she kicked Shi Hua. You idiot." Nanny Sun came forward and said, "Princess, there will be plenty of opportunities to deal with this bitch in the future. The most important thing now is to destroy the soup bowl. Otherwise, the consequences will be unimaginable." Zheng Shi nodded. That lowly sun was dead. She could cover up the sky and cover up the sea with one hand. However, if the old princess was poisoned to death, both the old Royal Highness and Emperor Xingwu would definitely investigate to the end. At that time it would be over. Pa N Dan 0v1. C0M Zheng Shi thought of this and hurriedly brought Nanny Sun to the old princess residence. No matter what, she could not let the old princess drink the bowl of poisoned soup with added ingredients. Seeing that Zheng Shi and Granny Sun had left, Shi Hua staggered to her feet and left Zheng Shi's courtyard. She had placed all her bets on Yun Chujio, so all she could do now was to wait. Zheng Shi almost trotted to the old princess courtyard. She did not even wait for the maid at the door to inform her before she barged in. The old princess was just about to have lunch when she saw Zheng Shi barging in a panic. She could not help but frown. "Boss, do you have something urgent?" Zheng Shi did not answer the old consort. She hurriedly put the bowl of bamboo sun chicken soup in the middle of the table into her storage ring and said, "Mother, there's something wrong with the bamboo sun used to make soup in the kitchen today. I was afraid that you wouldn't feel well after drinking it, so I rushed over. You haven't drunk it yet, have you? This little Gio is too much. Why did she give you soup out of the blue? She almost got into trouble." The old princess looked at Zheng Shi in shock. "This soup is from the kitchen. What does it have to do with little Nine?" Zheng Shi was stunned. "Didn't little Nine send this soup to you?" The old princess was confused and looked at Zheng Shi suspiciously. "Little Nine has never been here before. How did you know that little Nine was going to send me soup?" Zheng Shi was shocked. "That bitch didn't come to deliver the soup? Could it be that Xihua lied to her?" No, that bitch didn't have the guts to lie to her. What was going on? At this moment, a clear voice came from outside the courtyard. Grandmother, I've brought you soup. Today's soup is especially delicious." Along with the voice, He Xingjiu hopped in. Zheng Shi's heart skipped a beat. She had rushed over as soon as she heard the news. Of course she was faster than this bitch. She had miscalculated. But it was also good. She could destroy the soup she had brought out just in case there was any evidence left behind. After He Xingjiu entered, she looked at the food on the table and clapped her hands. "Grandmother, what a coincidence. You just happened to not have any soup here, so I brought it here for you. Isn't this called telepathy?" The old princess spat at her. "You little monkey, you're the best at talking. I used to have a bowl of bamboo sun chicken soup here, but your aunt said that there was something wrong with the bamboo sun chicken soup, so she didn't let me drink it. What kind of soup did you bring? If it's also bamboo sun chicken soup, then throw it away." Yun Chujio smiled smugly. "Grandma, it just so happens that my soup is not bamboo sun chicken soup, but winter melon pork ribs soup. So it's definitely not a problem. Let's drink my bowl." As Yun Chujio spoke, she took out a bowl of winter melon spare ribs soup from her storage ring. Then she smiled and asked Zheng Shi, "Aunt, there's something wrong with Zhu-sun chicken soup. This winter melon spare ribs soup shouldn't be a problem, right? Do you want to sit down and drink some with me? The soup today smells exceptionally fresh. Otherwise, I wouldn't have come all the way here to deliver it to grandmother." Zheng Shi's head buzzed. She had been too anxious just now and did not ask Xihua what kind of soup she had given to this bastard at noon. It seemed that this bowl of winter melon spare ribs soup must be poisonous and had to be knocked over. Therefore Zheng Shi laughed dryly and said, "It just so happens that I haven't eaten yet. Mother won't mind adding a pair of chopsticks, right?" The old imperial consort felt that Zheng Shi was strange today. Normally she would not even agree to stay to eat, but today she actually took the initiative to stay to eat. Although the old princess was suspicious, she still asked the maid to add a set of bowls and chopsticks. As for He Xingjiu, she had always been self-reliant. She had already taken out a set of bowls and chopsticks from her storage ring and was eagerly waiting for the order to start eating. The old princess couldn't help but laugh. She tapped her forehead with her hand and said, "Since you're hungry, let's start eating." He Xingjiu bared her little white teeth. She took a spoon and scooped a small bowl of soup and placed it in front of the old princess. Then she scooped another bowl for Zheng Shi. Finally, she scooped a bowl for herself and said crisply, "Drink the soup before eating. It's good for your health. Grandmother, first aunt, try this soup. It must be very delicious." Zheng Shi was so anxious that her head was full of sweat. In a moment of desperation, she tilted her body and swept her arm unintentionally, causing the bowl of soup between herself and the old princess consort to spill. She thought to herself, that bastard should just drink it, as long as the old princess consort was not poisoned. "Aunt, are you all right? It's such a pity for those 2 bowls of soup. But it's all right, there's still more than half a bowl left. It'll help you and grandmother get another bowl." He Xingjiu stood up and began to fill the bowl with soup with a smile. "You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure."